Sanchivan. Okay, in accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, be advised that the notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board at Town Hall and electronically forwarding to the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at Town Hall and remotely at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. Meeting details and the draft agenda were also posted on our Township website. Please all stand to salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
What is that noise? Echo, can we? Okay, roll call vote, please. Here.
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 Here. Lower the volume. Test. Test. Sounds good. Can I please, Ordinance 2580-21. It is the intention of the Township Committee this evening to adjourn the public hearing of Ordinance 2580-21 in regards to food establishment noise to the August 17th Township Committee meeting. Deputy Mayor Rossman will provide an update on this.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, we've asked for an. Thank you, Mayor. We've asked for an extension.
There's an echo. Right, so that's a super disruptive. It's very disturbing that we can hear an echo. Okay, we're gonna keep moving.
Okay,
Deputy
we'll
Mayor.
keep trying. Anyway, so I've been in discussions with some residents, Mr. Shepherd, Mr. Honeysett, Jay Morale, and they've asked me to look at improving language or strengthening the proposed noise ordinance. So we've been talking on the phone. We just met for a few minutes. So I'm going to plan on meeting with the residents to look at additional language. So we asked, just that we put it off maybe to the next meeting, so that we can meet with them and see if see what their language, what the request is.
Okay, great. Our revised agenda was posted today. The revised agenda was posted on our website and bulletin board, and copies are also available on the table right over there if you'd like to get one. May I have a motion to approve the agenda as revised?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Hi. Yeah, well done. May I have a motion to approve the March 30th, 2021 special township meeting?
So moved.
May I have a second? May I have a motion to approve the April 6th, 2021 township meeting?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Reports. Although, great. Aye.
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 Aye. All right. Committeewoman Ego, would you like to start us out on reports tonight?
Yes. Welcome everyone this evening. We have received your letters concerning the Wall Bridge Garden, which contains the roses. Be assured we've heard your concerns. We have removed Resolution 2194 from this evening. We will bring the subcommittee back together to write an addendum which will assure there is language in the RFP that roses will be included in the final project. I will ask Mr. Molman, our Assistant Business Administrator, to take from here to discuss the rest of the process and how we will continue to move forward and how we got to this point.
Mr. Mullen?
This one.
So a couple months ago, the Township Committee established a subcommittee tasked with looking at a proposed gateway to Taylor Park project on Melbourne Avenue at the intersection with Lackawanna Place. This was first highlighted by Perkins Eastman during their downtown vision plan. And we met as a subcommittee and had a couple meetings, met at the site, which includes Rose Garden, gazebo, essentially discussed some parameters to include in a request for proposals to seek a landscape architect that would prepare conceptual designs for the site. So we worked for a couple months developing those parameters. The RFP would not bind the municipality to either select a landscape architect or select a specific design. We were just interested in having a landscape architect be brought in to propose ideas for the site. We also included, so the committee includes members from the Township Committee, from the public, from the Paper Mill Playhouse, and now from the Short Hills Garden Club as well. They were included in our last meeting. So the RFP essentially would task the landscape architect with looking at some guiding principles that would be in the document. And in terms of the Rose Garden, look to include it as it currently exists in a proposed plan or potentially realign it within the existing site. So essentially at this point, we're just working towards creating and issuing an RFP to analyze firms coming back that would propose conceptual designs and then go from there.
Not at this time, thank you.
Can I ask a question about this?
Not right now.
What do I have to report? We are close to getting a spot for the library. The library, as you all know, is going to be closing for renovation. So we are very excited about that. We're close. We can't say we're almost there. That will have a really nice space for the library when they do close down, because it's going to happen probably when school starts back up in September. And I also met with the Historical Society in conjunction with the HPC. And I wanted to thank Jeannie Weil and Michelle Miller, who made themselves available. And they're working quite well together in getting us the documents that we need for the HPC. They did a really bang-up job. And Dorothy Kelly tells me she has a handful of interns who are working on all the archives as we speak for the Historical Society. So that's very exciting. They're really working so hard and working well together. So I just want to put that out there. What a great job. Thank you. That's it.
What?
Was fabulous. I might add, I think we had the best fireworks around. It's interesting. Fireworks cost $1,000 a minute. For those of you who don't know, it's $1,000 a minute. And there were over 35 minutes that they had the fireworks. So it was nice to feel like our town again. You know, we all missed that last year. So a lot of towns canceled. So we had so many people that came. They really did a fabulous job. Whoever that company is, the 4th of July committee, like many of the committees in our town, are strictly volunteers. And so our volunteers are the backbone of our communities, and that's important to us. And they did a really great job. So it was a great night for everyone. And the police did a great job too. So thank you.
And the fire were there, EMS was there in case, and no incidences. It was really an incredible evening.
Yeah, I've never seen so many people. I worked the gate, you know, because we collect money for that, so that we have money for the fireworks for next year. We were packed. It was a lot of do-re-mi that night. It was so packed. It was packed. It was fabulous. And people were pleased. So it was nice to see.
might be muted.
All right. Deputy Mayor Osman.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I want to touch on Committeewoman Eckler's remarks in terms of the gardening club. I've had discussions with Julia Davis, and I want to thank her, and I want to thank the Short Hills Gardening Club for reaching out to us. And I just think that this may be, we should be able to sit down with the gardening club and all of our volunteers, and I just want to thank them. I know there's so many committed volunteers that take care of the roses, take care of the garden, and I think we've heard your concerns, but I just think that there may be a way forward where we might be able to, open up the park to more residents. We may make it more inviting and also, keep the roses and go forward together so we can do something fantastic. So that, I just wanted to touch on that. And also wanted to mention with Explore Millburn, there is a new website. There's a new website that lists all of our businesses. It's searchable. It makes our small businesses much more findable, for our residents. Also, there's been music all summer, which is great. There's been a lot of neighbors coming, neighboring towns, joining our restaurants in all of the districts. There's a business success kit that's listed on the Explore Millburn website, and I just think that they're doing fantastic work. I'm very proud of all the volunteer work that they're doing, and all the volunteers are doing. So I just want to thank everybody for that.
Yes, one brief item. Judge Gardner convened a case management conference last Thursday in connection with the town's declaratory judgment action on affordable housing. Extended the township's hearing to July 31. There has been an aggressive schedule of meetings held involving steering committee, township committee, the special master, and fair share housing center in an effort to bring a successful conclusion.
Yeah, if I can comment on this also, I just want to thank the Millburn team has been working with their share. With Higgins and I, we interviewed Beth McManus, and she is a professional with their share housing work, and she is joining the team. As part of the resolutions tonight, and really looking forward to working with her in settling on a fair share obligation. And I will tell you, been involved in many meetings along with Higgins. We are cleaning up the mess, and I just want to tell everybody is, working really hard to take care of our obligation and fair settlement. But we're working really hard to meet the judge's deadline, and I'm really encouraged that Cannabis is going to go this in December, and but it's been very challenging.
Well, I have to agree. You're cleaning up a very big mess. It's tremendous. And a lot of people probably will not be happy, but I will say this. Everything you think we should be doing, we've been putting that forward. We're not allowed to talk about anything, but every time you think, well, why didn't they do this or why didn't they try that? I promise you, we are. We're doing everything we can, but we are cleaning up a mess of 30 plus years of 40 of Millburn not building one fair share housing unit, not one. And so I want everybody to know that. It's really important you all know that. We are cleaning up a really big mess, and it's going to get cleaned up. So,
And we will do it.
It's a big mess.
And there's going to be a lot of public information that's coming up
That's right.
in the next couple of months, weeks, explaining all this. Everybody, once we get through,
Correct. We have to keep so much confidential. And the last thing I'll leave you with is, It's the law. We have to do it. It's the law. It's been court ordered. You just have to remember that. Everything's been court ordered.
Okay. So
Lots of happy things.
on to the Tour de Millburn.
Yes.
September 12th, please mark your calendars and you can register online through the township website. The township committee is meeting to discuss RFPs, going out to RFP for different professional contracts. So I just wanted to let the community know that we are having those discussions. They will be closed session discussions. And then we will bring it out to the public about which contracts we will be sending out RFPs for. So that will be happening. National Night Out. Are you going to speak to that? What night? What night? August 3rd. Do you want to speak to it, Gil?
No.
It's happening in Keller Park. What it is?
August 3rd, evening of August 3rd, we'll be having National Night Out in Taylor Park. There'll be representation from the police department there, I believe from the other emergency services as well. And, we invite the community to come out, speak with us and meet the officers. Yeah, there'll be food trucks and there'll be games and food and for the children. So it'll be a
Lots
good
of
night.
great giveaways.
I believe it starts at 6 p.m.
Right, so
Don't
that's
quote
a
me on
really
that, but I
fun
believe it's a
community event. So everyone comes to park August 3rd. Okay, and that is all of my list.
Is it possible to speak within the mic? It's very hard to hear.
Mr. Vinaya, did you say can you speak to the mic?
Yeah. Now I can hear you, Mayor.
Okay, we're just like this feedback. All right, we are gonna, Mr. McDonald is now. Excellent. Oh, and this is big, this is leading up to big news that August, we will all be in person, no more remote, so we don't have to worry about these little glitches that we've been dealing with through the pandemic. So there will be no Zoom in August and everybody is invited to come to the TC meetings in person.
And that's moving forward.
And that is moving forward August 15th. No more Zoom.
Okay.
So I may have missed it, but yeah, if you have asked me my reports, there is no reports, but it's very hard. It's very hard to hear. So if the attorney and committeeman Wasserman, both of them especially, I didn't hear them at all. Mayor, I could
Okay,
hear.
Thanks.
Please.
Okay, we're gonna keep moving to Mr. McDonald now.
So the,
He did not,
we're
he didn't have a report.
gonna do the meeting twice. So I do apologize. We've actually put in a new system so that as we move back to YouTube Live in August, as the mayor had stated, we will have a sort of more robust system in the camera. Obviously, we're dealing with some sound issues, but that will all get figured out. Unfortunately, we are not NBC here, and we're still working on things. I've been asked to make several reports tonight. In particular, I'm just going to go down through my list and happy to answer any questions from the committee on. First and foremost, the last meeting I was asked to put together a bid for a cell tower at the JFK site. That is currently in process, and I will have a draft to the committee within the next 2 weeks, so that can be reviewed prior to our meeting on August 17th by the committee and discussed further there. This would be for a land lease for a cell tower that would be then occupied by whoever bid on that particular project. And also any other service providers that would want to be housed on that tower would then pay a additional lease, and the township would receive a percentage of that. That is generally how these land leases work with the cell tower. Many of the residents may or may not be aware, but the leaf composting site that is located on JFK has ample space to accommodate a 300 square foot land lease for a cell tower. And the township has, in recent times, been dealing with some issues as far as cell service coverage, and it's hopeful that this tower
will help alleviate some of that, particularly in the White Oak Ridge Road area as well as the Poet section. So just wanted to make the community and the committee aware of that. The leaf composting site, been asked to put together an analysis of different options at that site, in particular, what I just spoke about in terms of the cell tower, but also looking at whether we eliminate the leaf composting operation that we currently have, which takes up about approximately 5 acres on that site, in which we turn windrows every year from the time they're collected until the time they're picked up in September. So we collect them in October, all the way to September, then they're taken away by a company and use this compost. So the idea is there the potential to change that operation to where we take those leaves elsewhere initially instead of dropping them and then having to manage them, and be able to potentially use that site for additional field space. So we are just taking a look at that analysis, what the costs might be, and then providing that information to the committee. Just want to report to the community about parking changes in Lot 3 and Lot 7. In response to, I think, what is a changing environment when it comes to commuter parking, we have established one pay station in each of Lot 3 and Lot 7 for additional all-day parking spaces. Lot 7 is the Millburn train station lot. Lot 3 is the Short Hills train station lot. Residents with a valid resident sticker can pay to park all day for $10 by using those pay stations if they're going into the office once a week or twice a week and don't feel that it is necessary to purchase a full commuter permit through the township. We understand that September will probably be a time which sees a lot more of our residents going back to the office. We will certainly be looking at prorating our commuter permits for those that would need those, so that they can purchase permits for the last 4 months of the year. Those changes are in effect now and can be utilized, just to alert residents as well that we have all-day parking as well in Lot 9, which is the library lot. So there's plenty of flexibility in the spaces and uses for our township residents. The zoning code re-exam subcommittee is looking to put out an RFP. Again, as Mr. Molman had explained, an RFP does not obligate the township to proceed forward with a project necessarily, but we are looking to engage a planner to help us with changes to the RFP to the zoning process, to the zoning code, and making various changes that have been identified there. Certainly that information will come to this full township committee, but that RFP will be going out in short order. And then the results of which will come back to the committee for approval should there be a desire to proceed forward. I've been asked to speak about the finance subcommittee that has directed, and I think there's been some other discussion within the committee about examining the township's court and whether there is a desire or a feasibility in sharing that court with another community. This is just a very preliminary start to something in terms of investigation of a shared court. And that shared court could be with any neighboring community that the township sees as a favorable fit, favorable price, favorable service, anything like that. But again, this is just very preliminarily, just talking with some of our neighbors. There's 2 more items that I'm looking to discuss. The first is there's been a series of questions to the committee about Woodland Road as it relates to the Silverman project that has been approved at the planning board but not resolved by the planning board at this point in terms of a resolution, and whether a curb cut needs to be approved by the township committee to accommodate loading and unloading of that property. That is, as I understand it, the case. If it was approved in the site plan, it will come to the township committee to approve a parking or a loading and unloading spot on Woodland Avenue where there is currently no parking allowed. This would be a curb cut. I believe it's approximately 90 feet in length along, don't ask me for the direction, but it's along the side that doesn't allow for parking. The other side of Woodland allows for permit parking only for businesses.
But again, I think that when that does come before the township committee and that request comes before the township committee, I think it's going to be important that the options or the alternatives to that are considered. In particular, if a moving van were to load and unload where parking is currently permitted, that would be across Chatham Road. Or on the other side of Woodland Road, where you currently have business permit parking. I think that, again, this would be a task of the township committee under Chapter 7 of the township ordinances, which deal with traffic and parking. However, that has not come before the township committee as of yet, because the resolution has not been passed by the planning board to memorialize that site plan. Lastly, I've been asked to provide additional information and report on a resolution to award a contract for crossing guards to all city management tonight. We've asked that in order to accommodate the township committee with additional questions and information, that members of the PTOC and the traffic bureau are here to present just very briefly and answer any questions that the committee might have. So I don't know if the PTOC would like to come up.
Would you like to come up and introduce yourself? Good evening, Township Committee members. My name is Mara Epstein. Next to me is Gaston Halpert. We are the co-chairs of the Millburn PTOC Safety Committee, which is comprised of parent volunteers from each school who meet on a monthly basis to discuss issues impacting students safely traversing to and from their schools. I have been a member since 2018, and I'm entering my third year as co-chair. We're here tonight to give you a brief history of what has led to the contract that is being presented tonight, to retain a specialized vendor to manage the crossing guard program, and to clear up confusion that has emerged regarding the contract. Crossing guard scheduling, hiring, communication, and managing has been an issue brought up at every safety meeting that I have personally attended, and goes back even before my tenure. After years of discussion with both the township and the Millburn Police Department, it was decided that the engagement of a private contractor to handle these ongoing issues would be the best solution. This would mean that a vendor who specializes in the management, training, and communications regarding crossing guards would allow the police who are presently performing these services to return to other vital law enforcement services. A resolution was passed last summer to bid out these management services. Unfortunately, the COVID-19 pandemic made the school schedule uncertain, and thus it was decided to postpone the implementation of an outside vendor to take over this work. This contract is for 1 year for the management, hiring, and training of crossing guards. We are currently 9 crossing guards short out of 39 posts, meaning that almost 25% of the crossing guard posts have gone unmanned this year. And this has affected every school in the district. That is 25% of locations which have been identified by the police department as places that need a crossing guard to ensure the safety of our children, have no smiling faces to greet them, no one to protect them from speeding cars, and to make certain that they safely get to school and home every day. There is a fundamental purpose and duty of the Township of Millburn to make sure that our children have a safe route to school. Further, this is not a situation that is a result of the COVID pandemic. We have been running at a deficit of crossing guard for years, with police officers manning missing posts when they can. There are simply not enough officers to fill the vacancies, and thus we have vital intersections that have no crossing guards. In fact, 2 police officers have been posted at Main Street for the entire year because we do not have enough crossing guards. This contract will allow those posts to be manned by trained crossing guards, allowing the police officers to return to other necessary services. This plan is supported by the school district, parent representatives, and the police department, all organizations and individuals who are directly impacted by the lack of crossing guards at these crucial locations. We have about 50 days before the beginning of the school year. It is very likely that we will not have enough crossing guards to man all 39 posts if this contract does not pass. And it will continue to pose danger to the children of Millburn and Short Hill. And Gaston is now going to talk about some of the other questions that have come up about the contract.
Thank you, everybody, for the opportunity this evening. My name is Gaston Halpert. I'm co-chair of the PTOC Safety Committee and also the liaison to the Pedestrian Safety Advisory Board. Before I start, I did want to thank
Mara for this. She has spearheaded this all the way through, dotted every I, crossed every T. And I do think we finally have a great solution thanks to her. Thank you, Mara. As she had said, I would like to speak a little bit about maybe some misinformation that's been going around the community about the contract. Worked very hard on this, tried to look at every single avenue, making sure everybody was happy. And I feel like we did an excellent job. So there have been rumors circulating about, or I guess the fact that maybe Westfield had gone down one guard and that we may lose guards. Well, that is definitely not true. By law, the police department is still in charge of the crossing guards, regardless of who hires and manages and does things like that. Only at the sole discretion of the chief of police can the company actually remove or add any guards. We've had, as Mayor had said, we've had 2 officers posted this year at Main Street due to the crossing guard shortage. And having a full contingent of crossing guards will enable these officers to return to their important law enforcement duties. We are adding these 2 posts with this contract. And I know this definitely firsthand because of Wyoming, we do have a parking problem. And I actually spearhead a lot of the safety issues there. When we do have a guard out or something like that, we don't have parking enforcement. We, the parents, are actually helping out a lot, trying to get the other parents to comply and keep the streets safe for our kids to go home. In addition, this responsibility then sometimes falls on the crossing guards. And I just wanted to speak very quickly about the crossing guard that we see every day to and from school. His name is Mr. Dominic. Unfortunately, he's retiring this year. He's 75 years old. And the first thing that he's going to go do is visit his 100-year-old mother in Italy. So congratulations, Dominic. We appreciate your service. He was really just an awesome, fun, such a spirited fellow. Everybody knew him. He and I exchanged recipes. He and I exchanged even Italian preserves. He gave me a lot of wine of his own. You know, just a really spectacular guy. And we want to make sure that all of our guards are taken care of, whether there's a contract in place or not. One of the things that we did put in there is under the contract, the outside vendor is required to hire all current crossing guards at the current rate of pay. So let's take care of everybody, regardless of if they're here or not, and make sure things stay the same in Everett. As to the website advertising being taken down, website advertisement for the crossing guard position. One of the reasons why we're here tonight is over the past, I don't know how many years, we've been trying to advertise. We've used, the township, we've used the schools, we've been talking to people using PTOs, and nothing has seemed to work for us. So even over the past year, the Millburn Police, the township, the school district advertised all year through emails, websites, postings, and even electronic signs that there were crossing guard job openings, which did not result in applicants to fill the vacant posts. The advertisement is no longer on the website in anticipation of the vote on the contract. However, it was working invisible the entire year. This year, we only had 3 applicants with 2 new hires, and those were the result of word of mouth, including 1 applicant who a police officer working as a crossing guard asked simply while they were power walking by. This is why we need a vendor who specializes in recruitment of crossing guards. If a post is vacant, the company will not be paid. Therefore, there is an economic incentive to ensure that every post is filled every day. And I just want to voice my opinion once more that I really feel like we do have the correct solution for this. A company specializing in crossing guard employment with greater outreach into a potential pool of candidates that provides consistent attendance and a clear flow of communication with the schools will ensure that our children have safe and guarded routes to school. Thank you very much.
If there's any questions. Does anybody from the committee have any questions for our PTOCC chair?
Thank you very much.
I have a question. First of all, I want to thank you both for working so hard. I always thank our volunteers, whatever they're doing in the township. So thank you so much for doing that. We've got a lot of like a lot of subjects. We have a lot of pushback on this. Why can't we hire people? Why do we have to privatize this? But you assuring us that Are you assuring us that you did everything you did to hire guards? And how long have you been working on this issue? This is going on like 12 months, or you've been working on this for years? How long?
It's been multiple years, and the police can speak to that, their efforts as well. But I have emailed Lieutenant Tavares on almost a weekly basis, trying to see if we had any more crossing guards. When we actually said that we'll have the district start emailing out, so we tried to help with the recruitment as well. But this has been in plans for at least 2 years. Like I said, if the plan was for this to start this past school year, but because of COVID and because the school year wasn't starting at the right time and there were different schedules, we felt it wasn't the right year to start this. So we have tried everything. There has just been no applicants. I can't tell you why. That it's shrunk in years past. I can tell you that the situation has gotten worse. When we started the year, there was only 6 missing posts, and by the end of the year, we had 9 missing posts. And again, we had previously used police officers basically as substitute crossing guards, because not only did we not have enough crossing guards, we didn't have any potential substitutes to call in if somebody called in sick. And so on a rotating basis, the police would fill that in. But because they are permanently on the main street, we have not had any extra police officers to be able to do that. And therefore, now 9 by the end of the year have been completely unmanned.
Does the school administration support this? I mean, do the school officials, feel that this is the way to go also, or is this just your committee?
No, this has been discussed as Gaston had mentioned, at PSAB, and on PSAB, the superintendent of schools sits on that, as well as the chief of police, as well as Lieutenant Tavares. And this has been discussed for multiple years. Even before that, before the creation of PSAB, the police department and district representatives and the township representatives came directly to the PTOC safety meetings. So this has been in discussion for years with all the parties who are present, and this is the solution that was come up with all the parties.
And without 9 guards, you have how many unmanned intersections right now?
Well, we have currently, before the retirements of this year, there's 39 total. There's 9 that have no crossing guards, and with this retirement, that would be 10. So that represents about 25% of the posts that the police department determined need crossing guards don't have anyone.
So the kids are crossing right now without a crossing guard.
That is correct.
May I ask a question, Mayor?
Oh, yes, sure.
Who is particularly responsible to hire a crossing guard currently? Who in specific is responsible? Is that PSAP's responsibility, or is that someone else's?
The department runs the crossing guard program currently.
Okay,
So all
so
new hires and training go through the police department, and they
So-
can speak to that.
okay, and I assume they are also in the room and will be talking about this, and we'll talk about also why they are unable to fill those positions up.
I will leave that to them. Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
so much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Lieutenant Gil Tavares,
And Sergeant Peter Smrella.
from the Traffic Bureau with the Police Department. If you have any questions that we could potentially answer.
Well, I sent over a whole bunch of questions to the chief that I don't have in front of me that I haven't gotten answers to in terms of, and I'd have to pull up my phone in order to get it for an email, but there were 10 or 12 questions that I had asked the chief to answer for me. Unfortunately, he's not available to speak to.
If there's
I don't have
anything,
them in front of me. It all had to do with how many times were guards out? Did they call in sick the day of? Were they taking personal days? When you moved 2 guards off the Glenwood section and brought them up to the Hartshorn section, what did you do to replace the 2 guards that were there? I'm just so curious how our own police department can't hire guards, but some West Coast company is going to hire guards. It's a 3-hour time difference. I am absolutely not for doing this. I think that we should not be. And read what I think on this. Over the weekend, we did try and access it. You cannot access it. Somebody wants to become a guard in our town. Well, the system's broken down. I don't know when that was taken down, but it's not there. So nobody has a way of applying for it. Others have been discouraged. We're asked to privatize the process, to contract with a company on the other side of the country that we don't know anything about because we have a shortage of crossing guards. And so is it our inability to manage our processes here? I don't know how we get them to apply for it. I've never seen anything. I asked for records of that. I'd like to, in my business, when I've been hired by somebody to help them sell their home, I have to give a whole printout of everything I've done for them in terms of advertising, when I've done it, how many hits, etc. So there's data points that we could have that I asked for that I didn't get. So I don't know. I think to contract with a West Coast company to manage a small East Coast Township's Traffic Bureau is not my judgment, the way to manage a hiring process. And I don't know. I think that if you're privatizing, it's considered, an easy way to ensure the safety of our children. I don't think it's easy. I think it's pretty lazy. And I think we have to prioritize, not privatize. I think we need to make our children's safety a priority. We've got to work harder at recruiting people, our local neighbors, who know our children. And I don't think we should be leaving this up to some corporate interests in California. It's just my opinion. We need to all step up our efforts to make sure the positions are filled. And if that means working harder, then we do that. I intend to be responsive to those who trusted me with this position on the Township Committee. I am not for spending money on privatization or contracting with a California company for work we should be doing ourselves. And one of my roles here is to be the guardian of your public purse. And on this contract, I intend to do just that. I'll vote no on it.
So I'm just gonna ask everybody in the room, please don't applaud because it's not something that we actually do. And prior to my role as mayor, I've been coming to township meetings for years, and that has always been it. So it's not just me; it's the many mayors before me. So I'm just asking you, please, to do not clap in the room. And 1 second, there's a local manager, right? It's not that somebody in California, 3 hours away, is going to be in charge of our crossing guard. So I just want to make that very clear. Thank you for coming. Do you guys have anything you would like to say before?
Since I've been transferred into the Traffic Bureau at the beginning of 2020, there has always been a shortage of guards. And we have tried from day one advertising and recruiting guards through many different avenues, and we've been unsuccessful through all of them. That's all I could say, and I believe that this will probably help us a lot.
Yeah, if you guys
Mayor-
don't mind, I spoke to Westfield PD. They use the same service that we do. They had a very similar situation to us. They had 50 posts. They were also down about, I think it was close to 25%, about 10 or 11. And they say they highly recommend it. I spoke to the supervisor of the Public Safety and Traffic Bureau. They highly recommend it. They're very collaborative. They get guards. Their guards are now full. And what he called it was his word that it was a force multiplier, meaning that the posts were filled and that he no longer had to have police officers fill those posts, so that those officers then could be used for other areas around the school and highly trafficked areas, especially in the morning and evening. And just to add something else, we're down 11 guards now. I found out this morning that an additional guard had retired. And keep in mind that while those posts are empty, it is not just a post. It is a morning and an afternoon post that nobody is there. So just something to keep in mind for some more context.
And I just have a couple questions. And how are we assured, it's just a question, are we, and maybe this is more to Mrs. McDonald, but how are we assured that this company is going to fill, I know the contract calls for it, but how are we assured that we're going to me, and I appreciate Committeewoman Megan's comments on this. To me, this is not a money issue per se. I'm on the finance committee. I'm always worried about every dime, but in this, it's really a safety issue. My question is, how are we assured? Are we assured under the contract that we're going to have 39 or 30 or 39 guards? Is this part of the deal?
Yeah, so the bid specification calls for 39 posts. And there is a financial incentive to the company to ensure that those posts are filled, because if they're not, they don't get paid for that post. The other thing to keep in mind is that, and as the mayor had pointed out, the company does hire, and hopefully it's one of our existing crossing guards, to be a manager, an area manager. So one of them that has, you know, the desire, the proclivity, the, you know, whatever to manage the area will do that. And will be offered the job. In just again, a brief conversation with ACMS, you know, they and in their specification, they actually put in how much they value the institutional knowledge and the ability of those that are already here serving to serve the community and continue to serve the community, which is why, you know, even if we hadn't written it into the bid specs, they would have offered them the position. However, so their incentive is financial. The fact is that they have to fill those posts to get paid. They need to provide 39 posts. The issue that we've run into in not having crossing guards at certain posts is that, you know, in trying to get there and just by one of the ways that we've advertised in the past is on Indeed, which is, you know, pretty widespread, recruitment tool. But the issue is that if we don't have people to fill those posts and you know, our crossing guards get some time off and they take time off and they use that time and then they have to take additional time off, you know, they take that time. We don't have any, I mean, the issue is that when we don't have crossing guards and you don't have posts filled, you know, we have to maintain those guards, you know, even if they're calling out or whatever. So I think that, you know, we have a number of, you know, really good crossing guards at this point, 29 of them. And I think that everyone has been satisfied with the job that they're doing. And however, you know, I think that we need to make sure that we're bringing in the rest of them, the 10 or 11 spots, and that, you know, that we maintain the ones that we have here.
So nobody's losing, so nobody's losing their jobs, like, you know, just because we're changing companies.
No. Everybody will be offered their job.
So I was gonna save what I was gonna say for when we vote, but I'll just,
Right, well,
Shall
maybe
save it.
Maybe we'll move on.
Okay, then I'll- right.
Let the officers sit or leave. We're not taking public comment right now.
okay.
We're not taking public comment. So right now, excuse me, you're disrupting the meeting. Please don't call out. So I'll go over the rules because we have some new faces and people in the meeting who have never been to a meeting before. But please do not call out from the seats. We will have public comment. You can see on the agenda, there's agendas if you'd like to get one at the top, at the table here. At the end of the meeting, we will have public comment, and everyone will be given 3 minutes to speak during public comment. And let's see what else. Am I forgetting any of the procedures? No, we're good? Okay, so we are going to move on to the consent agenda resolutions now. Are there any comments from the committee in regards to any items listed on the consent agenda?
Yes, I just have one comment on 21-202, award contract for September 11th Memorial in Crescent Park. This will be funded initially by the town, but we will be going out for private donations to reimburse the town for this project. And I think that's really important. We want people to know that we will be going out for private donations to help defray the cost of this very nice memorial that's been designed by Sarah Langsam. So there will be ways on to do that.
Yes. Okay, correct. May I have a motion to approve resolution 21-191 through resolution 21-210, which are listed on the consent agenda? Motion. May I have a second?
Second.
And may I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Can't hear again.
So resolution 21-196 and 21-204 have been pulled from consent. So the first one is to authorize 205. Sorry. 21-196. Oh, I said yes. Yes. 21-196 and 21-205. Okay. So are there any more comments, I'm sure, from the committee on Resolution 21-196.
Yes, Mayor. I was concerned, and I'd spoken to Mr. McDonald about how our traffic engineer went through 12 months of his contract in 6 months, and why we're awarding additional money. And I know this is having to do with investigating two-way traffic in town. I think that this is a bigger conversation that is, we're doing so much in town. I've not received what the report from the county was. I wanted to know if this is a feasible project. I want to know what we are really looking to do. When I look at the town, I can see that I think this doesn't look that doable at first glance. And I would wanted to know from Collier's, from Maurice, what is he really expecting? Is $25,000 enough for him to look into this project further and continue with the regular projects that we're going to be assigning him on a regular basis? So I am not in favor in just an open contract for him. I would prefer that we see just whatever specific things we have to do for the rest of the year and put off looking at the two-way traffic next year.
Okay. Are there any other comments on resolution 21-196? Okay. May I have a motion to approve resolution 21-196?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay. A roll call vote, please.
Yes?
No.
Yes.
Are you calling my name out?
Yes.
Yes.
And yes. May I have a motion to approve resolution 21-1? Okay.
No.
Resolution 21-205. Are there any comments from the committee in regards to resolution 21-205?
Which one is that?
The creation of a steering committee act in connection with the historic preservation element of the master plan to appoint individuals to the steering committee positions identified for service on the said committee. Are there any questions?
So Mayor, I have a question.
Yes.
I may sound like a broken record, but I have asked this twice. I'd like to know what is going to be the legal fee to set this committee up. We want to first look into the charges or the cost it will appear, and that's when I would like to say yes or no for that project. Or
As a legal,
just want an understanding of the cost.
how much it's going to cost to set up this committee?
I think she raised that question in connection with the development review committee, which you
Yeah.
gotten approved.
Yeah.
I don't know who will be involved with this professionally.
Well, every town has a committee to review the historic.
You guys, let's all talk into our mics
Sorry.
so that
I'm so
everybody
sorry.
can hear us.
Will you call upon the historic preservation consultant or planning board attorney or anybody in connection with this?
Well, no, I think that every town has a committee to review the historic element of the master plan. So you're going to have people from, you're going to have volunteers, so zoning, and we had it all written. It was zoning, it was planning,
Do
it
you
was
wanna just
environmental.
publicly explain this very quickly?
Well, it's a review of the master plan, the historic piece of the review of the master plan is what this is, which hasn't been done. So what you're doing is you get, sometimes there are things that should be added or subtracted within this piece. And so at the moment, we have, Barton is doing the survey of the downtown, but this is just all, has to do with the master plan, and historic hasn't been part of this. So this is just a way the town has a committee to review this element.
But there's no additional legal,
No.
there's no attorney, so this
No.
would be like, this is all town volunteers.
Correct.
This
Who
are
already are sitting
on
on
these boards.
boards,
So
like the
there's no money.
chair, no money, the chair
So
of
Mr.
planning, the chair of zoning, unless they want to have someone else on it,
A
you know,
designee.
a designee, or somebody from environmental, or,
Mr. McDonald, is Mr. Falcon's company involved in setting this up?
No. Mr. Vinayak, I think you're thinking about the Development Review Committee, where it was agreed that before any of the town's professional consultants performed work with respect to that committee, you would receive first an estimate as to their professional costs. This is a separate effort to to review the historic element of the master plan, which will not require professional services. It'll be performed by the members of the committee and volunteers from the community.
We did.
Okay,
We already-
thank you for the clarification.
So, Ms. Miggins, what is the ultimate goal? Is the ultimate goal to be adding properties that would, looking to be designated historic?
No, not necessarily. It's just you're reviewing. We don't even have, and we've been discussing this even with the survey of the downtown. We don't even know what is in the downtown in terms of property. So all you're doing is you're getting an inventory of it. And then you're also looking at reviewing the historic element and how that plays into all of it.
And won't Mr. Ross, Barton Ross, be hired to do this? He doesn't work for free.
He doesn't work for free, and he is doing the survey of the downtown, which we all authorize.
Right. And I,
Sorry, just a point of clarification. The committee at the beginning of the year had already authorized this work to be done in terms of the element of the master plan. As you recall, I think Ms. Miggins had brought up that when we did the reexamination in 2018 of the master plan, the historic portion of that was not addressed. I just wanted to.
right. I think my concern is that there will be properties that are owned by private people, be it commercial property, who will then might be designated historic, and there'll be a conflict. For them, it's their property.
But no one's designated anything. We have to approve any designation. So we're
Right,
already,
right.
like, you're very far ahead of the process. We're just starting. at
But
the
I
beginning
want to
of the
put
process.
that is an ultimate goal, perhaps, of this subcommittee, to look for properties to designate, and then we will have to do that, and there might be some people who are affected by this. That's what I want to put out there, because we're having that issue now.
Well, we are,
Right.
and we can cross that bridge when we get
Right.
there. And right now, we're just starting the process, which is kind of what we're trying to do on a lot of things, is just start the process where everybody thinks we're already, come to a decision and made all these decisions and already putting a shovel in the ground when we're just at the beginning of starting conversations. So we're just going to start the conversation.
Okay.
Are there any comments from the committee in regards to resolution 21? Oh, we did that. May I have a motion to approve resolution 21-205?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Miggins,
Yes.
Ms. Thaw Eglo,
No.
Deputy Mayor Wasserman,
Yes.
Mr. Vinayak,
Yes,
Mayor Prupus.
Yes.
Thank you.
21-211, awarding a contract for crossing guard services to All City Management Services. Are there any comments from the committee in regards to this resolution?
Yes.
yes, Mayor. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. I just want to start out by saying awarding the contract for a private firm to hire and manage the township's crossing guards did not originate from any particular township committee member. There have been many things posting online that were just not fair and not accurate. As we heard from our representatives, Superintendent Burton sits on PSAP, and we've heard from our PTOC representatives and we have received letters from this board supporting this contract. I have personally seen the principal of South Mountain School in my neighborhood directing the traffic at the large intersection at Wyoming and Mountain View, where there used to be 2 guards. And we have received letters that this is the same situation at other schools. The principals are out there directing traffic. We have also received letters for support of this contract from many parents. Our current guards are not losing their jobs, and their pay is remaining the same. We have been hearing for years about the unmanned post. And we also hear from the residents who want to see our police patrolling our neighborhoods and to be available for the emergencies that they're called for, be it a CPR call, an accident, a fire. So there's a conflict. The solution to privatize has come to the TC because the town pays for the crossing guards by state law. This is why we, the TC members, are the ones who have to ultimately vote for this contract. And to kind of go with this, I called some school board members previous. The school board several years ago changed their substitute teaching hiring process. They contracted to outsource the firm called ESS for the same reason. It was becoming impossible to find substitute teachers. I told that this solution has been successful and has streamlined the system. We've been alerted to the problem, and we have been presented with a solution. So I support approving this 1-year contract.
Is any other?
Mayor,
other
may I
concerns?
please?
Yes, yes.
So I heard the chair, I heard the co-chair, I heard the police, gotten a lot of emails from the people who are volunteering and also from the public. To me, it seems like a straightforward thing, which we have an issue for the longest time ever. But it is portrayed as that this is, or maybe not portrayed, but general public feels that we should give another chance for at least a year. And like traffic police is there now, if somebody do not perform what they're supposed to, they fine them. They don't just take that function away from them. So I am actually, again, I'm extremely sorry, but as straightforward as it seems, I will actually take a vote of no in this case, just to support the public, to give another chance to police to see if we can focus on and add this to the KPI. So we have 39 man post looked at every month when we get the KPIs distributed. But again, this is not anything that I'm saying is wrong to do, but I'm just going to go with the public this time to wait for another year and see how it goes. Thank you.
Are there any other committee comments from the committee?
Actually, Mayor, I just have one more question for Mr. McDonald. Alex, if they're not successful, let's say, this is smoke and mirrors and, we hire them and they don't do their function. We touched on it before. Can we eliminate this contract when we say you guys didn't do a good job and you're out? Is there any reason why we would have to stay with them if they couldn't do what they promised?
No, every contract has a termination provision.
So if they couldn't come up with the guards that they promised, they would be terminated?
They could be, yes, by a vote of this committee.
Any other comments? Okay. May I have a motion to approve resolution 21-211?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. Miggins,
No.
Ms. Dahl Eglo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wasserman,
Yes.
Mr. Vinayak,
No,
Mayor Prupus.
Yes.
Thank you.
21-212, award contract for removal of flex parking on Melbourne Avenue. Are there any comments from the committee in regards to resolution 21-212? Are there any comments? Do we So do we need to talk about
Options.
the alternates, day or night? You do. Okay, so I think it's important that for us all. First of all, Committee of Inyayak, do you have any comments about or questions about the removal of flex parking? We're going to start talking about the alternates.
no question, Mayor.
Okay, so can you present the alternates to us?
Yes, so the two alternates on this project, one is to do the mill and pave of the project at night. The other is to do all of the work at night. So right now, as the bid stands, it is to do daytime work. You can choose alternate A, which would be daytime work with a mill and pave at night, or you could choose alternate B, which is all nighttime work, which would include the mill and pave at night as well.
I have a question for you. So day and night. Day is jackhammering the concrete up. Night is milling and paving. That's blacktop.
Correct.
I haven't. Any other questions?
Well, after you took that, Mayor.
Okay. In terms of the Main Street closure, and if this will have any effect on the Main Street closure that is scheduled to be closed for all of August, how do these options fall into it? Or alternates?
So I think that with the Main Street closure, the daytime work would be something that would have to be very closely evaluated with the Main Street closure in terms of traffic flow. Obviously, August in the time that this work is supposed to be done, is a slower month in town. And we have adjusted the traffic signal timings in the downtown for the Main Street closure. So traffic has been flowing a little bit easier. I just think that once you start the work because this project will require a lane closure, one lane closure on Melbourne Avenue between, we'll say Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. However, you can evaluate what that impact is, and whether the Main Street closure would have to be opened up at that point. With the nighttime work, that would not be a concern.
Does it make sense then to open up Main Street now? Because if we know our citizens, we know that the minute the traffic starts backing up, they're going to start cutting down through Washington School and then want to wind their way back and take a left onto Main Street, right, to circumvent all that traffic. So does it make sense to open up the Main Street now and not have it closed so that the traffic pattern isn't as heavy?
Well, I particularly want to keep Main Street closed
Okay,
through August.
okay.
So that would mean that I personally would be in favor of nighttime work. Is that correct? So I don't know if anyone else has feelings about
I
that.
do. We were going to pass a noise ordinance tonight that got postponed, and that ordinance specifically said we don't want noise past 10 p.m. at night. I think it's really disingenuous. It doesn't make any sense to start jackhammering at night. I think Mr. McDonald gave us a list of other cons of doing this at night. You don't have town hall available. You don't maybe have the police presence. You're going to have a contractor, what do we call him? A project manager. You can see better during the day. I think one lane at a time. August is a slow month. We still have a couple of weeks in July to do Main Street. I just think that it's so, I can't think of the right word right now, but to have jackhammering at 10 o'clock at night, people are complaining about music at moonshine. You cannot complain about music compared to jackhammering. I think it would be really unfair to the residents who live anywhere within that circumstance of who can hear the jackhammering. Main Street's a wonderful thing. They put palm trees out. I admit people love it. But right now, this is a project that we have been waiting for years to do. It's so important. They're not going to be working on weekends. You can go back to the Main Street closure on weekends. And I just think it would be so unfair to jackhammer at night and have big, huge lights. What kind of lights I think anyone's been on the highway has seen the kind of lights for road work.
Okay, so do you agree with that, that you want to do
I think it would make,
daytime work?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think we do daytime.
Can we put the Main Street closure back on the weekends, or will that not work?
I don't see a reason why you can't.
We did it before we did it.
But I just meant in terms of whatever the construction situation is happening for that moment.
I don't see why you could.
Mr. McDonald, what is the timeline we're looking at on this project? Just the day versus day and night?
Well, the timeline is the same in the bid specifications. The contractor needs to start by August 1st and end by August 31st. However, again, and this is just this, but it is a 3 to 4 week project.
So there's no time difference if we do night also?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was going to say that I also agree it should be done during the day because you're going to jackhammer at night. I think, we have a lot of residents downtown. But I would also say maybe there's a way of putting some flexibility in the Main Street closure, authorizing Mr. McDonald, like if it's a problem that he closes, that he has flexibility to open it, but maybe we can see how it goes. Maybe the construction people, could just block off the area that they're jackhammering so traffic can flow. But we can monitor it and authorize Mr. McDonald to do what we have to do.
Absolutely.
Do we have to, because we did Main Street closure by ordinance, resolution? Do we have to do a resolution if we're gonna, to give him the flexibility?
You do not, no. I think, again, it's managing this contract and how that impacts the traffic flow in downtown.
Yeah. And I feel the way you do, Mayor. I think people really are enjoying it. I know that we have to get this work done. Maybe the middle ground is, let's see how it goes.
Right, well, we're gonna have to see how it goes. and understand how-
Now, even I'm in the support of opening up Main Street if this work needs time.
Okay, so then are we voting on the resolution with the alternate of daytime work? Is that how that works?
So you're,
Or-
no, you're voting on it with alternate A.
Okay,
Which is an additional cost for milling and paving during nighttime working hours. Because that will require the full closure of Millburn Avenue.
of all of Millburn.
Correct, and it'll be about a night's work.
Okay.
But it'll be a night.
Can I ask one other question about this? Mr. McDonald, so for this work, we do have a project manager.
Correct.
I just want to go over this once so everybody follows this. So we have a project manager who's going to be on site, and we're going to be as sensitive as we can to the merchants on Melbourne Avenue. I believe Mr. Grillo from Explore Millburn will be assisting with the businesses in
Yes.
terms of the information.
Correct.
I just want to make sure that when, we don't repeat any mistakes that we made when it was implemented, with all of the headaches.
Well, we didn't make it.
Well, we didn't make them. This was another mess that this committee's cleaning up. So anyway, with that being said, I just want to make sure that we're as sensitive as we can to our merchants, who are trying to make a living, doing their business in town.
Understood, yes.
And is there a way to have them, they'll just work like a certain pad, if there's, or like they'll just work in a certain spot on one side of the street? They're not
So it's
gonna
done
go.
smart.
It definitely will be one side of the street only.
Okay.
Now, the more you dictate means and methods as they're going through this, then, obviously you don't want, to add that expense, but it is dictated that it's one side of the street at a time.
May I have a motion to approve resolution 21-212, alternate A?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second,
Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Miggins,
Yes.
Ms. Paul Eglo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wasserman,
yes.
Mr. Vinayak,
Yes.
Mayor Prupus.
Yes.
Thank you.
Resolution 21-213, are there any comments from the committee in regards to this resolution? May I have a motion to approve resolution 21-213?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second,
A roll call vote, please.
Ms. Miggins,
Yes.
Ms. Paul Eglo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wasserman,
yes.
Mr. Vinayak,
Yes.
Mayor Prupus.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are there any comments from the committee in regards to resolution 21-214? May I have a motion to approve resolution 21-214?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second,
Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Miggins,
Yes.
Ms. Paul Eglo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wasserman,
yes.
Mr. Vinayak,
Yes.
Mayor Prupus.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2580-21, Deputy Mayor Wasserman. Rick, all right, so you have nothing to speak to it, you already did your speaking to it.
Where am I now?
All right, old business. We are on to old business. Zoning.
Well, Mr. Wasserman, you still need to a vote.
Oh, where you
Please.
have to vote to
You have
take it
the-
off, right? That's
Yes.
why.
Okay, so may I make a motion to,
You have it.
Table it to
do I have it here?
adjourn it,
Oh,
adjourn it.
okay, I got it. Ordinance number 2580-21, ordinance supplementing chapter 3 of the revised general ordinance of the Township of Millburn to include certain retail food establishment noises in the enumerated prohibited noises. I move that a second reading and public hearing of ordinance 2580-21 be adjourned to the Township Committee meeting of August 17th, 2021.
May I have a second?
Second.
May I have a roll call vote, please?
Thank you. Ms. Miggins,
Yes.
Ms. Paul Eglo,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Wasserman,
Yes.
Mr. Vinayak,
Yes.
Mayor Prupus.
Yes.
Thank you.
We are on to old business, which is zoning accessory use provisions. Mr. McDonald, would you like to give us an update?
Sure. Mayor, we are currently working on the, what this is the rooftop decks as well as the loading and unloading. We have a draft ordinance which has been provided to the Township Committee. However, I've been asked to get out and provide that to the public and have discussion with the public. We will be doing that toward the end of this month. So I'm hopeful that people will look out for that if they have additional comments or issues or want to discuss that or what that means in various areas of the town. I think it's important that, that's discussed to to whatever degree that is necessary, but we would like to get that back in front of the Township Committee for that August meeting for an introduction.
I have a question, Mayor, on this.
Yes.
So this is going forward, but also I understand that Woodland Property will come in here to get a vote on curb cut. I just want to make it clear, and again, I don't want to influence anyone else for my vote, but for my vote to use a public usage or public road for their personal use of loading and unloading, I am not for it. And they should not assume that they have a clear yes from all of us.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we will schedule some information sessions before the next meeting, and this will be back a draft for us to a first reading, hopefully, in August. Okay. New business. The prohibition of public consumption of cannabis or alcoholic beverages in public places. Committeeman Vinayak, would you like to talk about this?
Mayor, I'm not the one who put this on, so I'm not sure who is leading it.
So,
Mr. McDonald, would you like to talk?
well, and I will defer to Mr. Falcon a bit on this. We've been asked to address, in the new sort of age of legalized cannabis, what that means in terms of public consumption, parks, sidewalks, things like that, and whether the committee would like to address that moving forward with this ordinance that would prohibit that in public spaces, as well as public sidewalks. Mr. Falcon.
So right now, there is no law against public consumption of alcohol in our parks?
Right now, there's no provision that the streets, like the sidewalks and things like that for both cannabis and alcohol.
Okay, just the streets.
No, may I ask a question before you go ahead, Mr. Falcon?
Sure.
So you're saying alcohol, people can have it on the street?
No, this, very simply,
No, Mr. Falcon, we have brought this question a few times now, and with opposing all five, and when we passed that ordinance, I'm not sure why this keep coming back. I thought in all public places it's not allowed.
well, this is in addition to what you have previously done, which was to eliminate the possibility that any category of cannabis business would take place in the township. The police department requested, since there's been a void as far as the prohibition of the active consumption of alcoholic beverages while walking down the street or in public places, that be addressed in this ordinance. And this also extends the current law which prohibits the smoking of tobacco in public places to now include cannabis.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just going to read this because seems like a little bit more of government overreach. Thus, the township has expanded its definition of public places to include, but not be limited to, public streets, sidewalks, bridges, alleys, plazas, parks, playgrounds, swimming pools, shopping areas, public transportation facilities, vehicles used for public transportation, parking lots, and the public library. If someone is smoking a cigarette on the block they live in, walking their dog, is that now illegal?
That's already illegal, the smoking of it.
A
Tobacco,
cigarette.
Cigarette.
You can't, I don't smoke cigarettes, but if I see a neighbor whose wife doesn't want him having a cigarette in the house, or a cigar, and we have seen this, are you telling me this person is subject to a fine for having a cigarette walking down Greenwood Drive? Seriously, is this what this means? It's a yes or no. Is that what this means?
That's what this means.
That's
It's already-
insane.
That's already the law. The smoke-
Really?
Smoke-free.
Yeah, the smoke-free
On
zone.
on a sidewalk?
No, we're talking about public park.
No, it says sidewalks, public streets, sidewalks, bridges, alleys. I'm just don't understand what we're doing here. And And I think my question is clear. If somebody is walking down Melbourne Avenue, Greenwood Drive, White Oak Ridge Road, whatever, there are men whose wives don't want them smoking in the house, or women who smoke when they're walking the dog. Is that illegal in town? Is this something I don't know?
And
I
I
don't want to
agree
have
with
people call
Committeewoman
cops.
Eglo.
What?
I agree with you. Smoking cigarettes is different than the liquor.
I've never
So-
seen one smoke. Okay, we have drinks at the concerts in the park. Are we going to now arrest those people on their picnic blankets? Well, technically, but this is now, you have people who will be reporting people, and that to me is completely unacceptable. And it's actually,
What do we do about if somebody's smoking medical marijuana and they're getting ready to go into dinner and they're out in the parking lot and they're smoking their medical marijuana before they go into the restaurant and it's a town parking lot? So do they get in trouble? If it's medical marijuana?
Yes.
can you talk in the microphone, please? Because I can't even hear you. Move it, a microphone up to you,
But
please.
how do you know? Then you have to pull out your medical, no, I've got medical marijuana.
Well, it's true. You would have to, if a policeman approached you and you're smoking a marijuana cigarette on the street, in accordance with this act, which is being extended to Millburn through this ordinance, then you would have a perfect defense.
But hold on a second. Now I'm a regular citizen and I'm smoking a joint and the police come and they're going to arrest me because I'm smoking a joint? Is that what this is? And then I'm going to go to, and then they're going to have to release me because we have no bail. They're, now they get released.
But you're going to be fined
So you're
$250.
gonna get fined.
So, right, so, and I think you're all pointing out very, very well, some of the issues with this particular drafted ordinance. However, just to speak a little bit to the impetus of it, it was that there was a concern that much like alcohol, in most places, you can't walk down the street just,
Drinking
chugging a
medical
beer,
marijuana.
right? That would that same mentality or same concept apply now that cannabis is legal in the state of New Jersey? That you're not just walking down the street, smoking cannabis. So I think that was the impetus of this and the concern behind this, not cigarettes for sure, and not in your own backyard or in your sidewalk, but I think it was more about if the sort of connection between if you can't drink a beer while you're sitting at a bench on Melbourne Avenue, why can you smoke a joint? And so again, this is just on here as a discussion point, and I think that you bring up valid points, and maybe it is something that we should go back and fine tune and address and be able to share with the committee at a later date.
This language is completely unacceptable. This is government overreach. This is beyond anything we should be doing. I'm real. You got it?
I got it.
You hear me?
got it. We totally get it. I
Okay.
think we all
You
get
feel
it.
me?
I
Yeah.
feel you. And I'm wondering if there is consensus of the committee that we need to even be addressing this in any formal way and spending our time and resources on this, or
No.
do we have an issue? Does this need to be resolved?
Has this come to us because has there been a problem? Are people smoking joints walking down Millburn Avenue?
No, but it just started. State
Oh,
has
who
just
cares?
mandated it. Okay,
on,
Committeewoman Eglo, please let me finish. So
All right, I
yes, no, you don't need to apologize. It's fine. You're passionate about this, but again, I am against having marijuana on the public places. Absolutely against it.
Okay, so this kind of came out of those conversations, so we just need to find out if there's consensus or not. It seems like we know where Committee Nyack and Committeewoman
Yes.
Eglo speak. Or sit, feel.
Why don't we do some more research on this? I think it's important we do some more research on this, and that we bring it back, so it's not as strict, but at the same time, you have to have some teeth in it. Our police officers walking down the street, somebody's getting high, they need to go, or somebody's drinking out of a bottle.
Well,
they
we
need to
also
be able
have
to do
that,
something.
I also have a concern that we have outdoor dining now. Summertime, people are enjoying a glass of wine. I just want to make sure this is also not overreach because we do have a lot of outdoor dining. We have, I don't know, there may be somebody that may want to take a smoke, after their meal. And we don't want to, we don't want to get into the weeds,
Not in the weeds, yeah.
Okay, so.
Maybe not in the weed or maybe not on the weed.
On the weed.
You got my gist. Maybe there's a
I mean,
Yes.
not everything has to be regulated. Let
Mr.
people
Falcon
live.
wants to-
Yeah.
We were asked to prepare this, we did.
Yeah.
The smoke-free, the memo that we sent around.
Can you please speak in the mic, Mr. Falcon?
Talk into the microphone, please.
The Smoke-Free Air Act currently designates the places where smoking is not allowed to be the parks and the beaches. The act does allow the municipality to extend that to other public places, which this does. You may decide in your discretion, well, we really want to take advantage of that ability that the law gives us to extend it to other areas, which is why we've got this on here for discussion.
Just
I
use
don't
tweak.
think we want to need to do
Whether
that.
whether you want to do it or
Right.
not, or.
The other thing that I think this is a good opportunity to bring up is that, and Committeewoman Eglo, you had kind of this originated back when you were mayor, but a working session for the committee. And Mr. McDonald and I recently talked about this. So it seems that there's like a lot of, we're doing a lot of work on the committee, and that there could be more conversation and more public outreach. And one of the ways that we can achieve this is through having working sessions of the committee so that we're not violating the sunshine law. And Mr. McDonald is going to, Livingston does it, Cranford does it, to try and figure out how we can do that. So maybe this is something that we can continue talking about in a working session to get more clarity around. Okay, is everyone good? Okay, on to second item of new business is proposed ordinance on bamboo and other invasive species. This was brought to our attention through some emails from residents, and Mr. McDonald, would you like to elaborate and explain?
Yeah, it's not uncommon for municipalities to have a bamboo ordinance. As everyone knows, it's a pretty invasive species and can get away from homeowners pretty quickly when planted in their backyards. And at times, the issue is not so much how that necessarily impacts the owner that planted it, but those that didn't plant it, and how it encroaches on other property. So just kind of going through some steps to offer a potential solution to the committee if they're so inclined. We took an ordinance from another community and drafted it for the Township of Millburn. But this is just a way to potentially address bamboo if the committee again was so desirous to do so. The other thing is that there could be a potential way of addressing it under our health code that we currently address poison ivy complaints with. But again, I leave that to the committee and your discussion on the topic.
Does anyone have any comments?
Again, oh, I'm sorry, too much regulation. I mean, what are other noxious weeds? I don't know. I just think we're just over-regulating. I don't know.
Where
What?
bamboo is concerned, and again, in my business, we sometimes have problems trading houses because of the invasive bamboo that is in one neighbor's yard that gets into another neighbor's yard, and you can't get it cut down, and it's a real problem. It grows in through concrete. I am all for banning bamboo.
Banning bamboo. But if bamboo already exists on someone's
It is
property,
so hard to get rid of, Diane, you have no idea.
but what if somebody already has bamboo on their property?
Well, then maybe you have to grandfather it, but if it starts to go onto somebody else's property, then they have every right to try and get it eradicated. It's a horrible thing.
Okay, so if somebody has it on their property, it's theirs, we grandfather it in. If it spreads onto their neighbors could put a complaint in and they have to take it away from their neighbor.
That's right. Absolutely. It's horrible.
Are there other towns that?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
What's
There are
the,
towns that outright ban bamboo.
what's
Outright
the,
ban it.
wait, Alex, before we get off, how do they handle poison ivy? What did you say about that?
Yeah, so under the health code, the code enforcement officer, the health officer has the ability to enforce poison ivy as a noxious weed and a health hazard. And so if, for instance, poison ivy is infesting the border of a property or on a particular property, they can ask that it be removed.
All right, that's fair.
So this is the first time this has been on the agenda, and I'm sure that there are people that are now gonna wanna give public comment about it, so we're not moving this anywhere other than we're starting to talk about it and think about it. Okay. Does any of the committee members have any other new business that they'd like to bring up tonight? Okay, with that, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess, bathroom break, stretch your legs, and then we'll come back for public comment.
Thank you.
It's horrible.
I thought I was Twitter, I wonder if that was shooting.
Yes, they are. Sure. I'm putting signs away. I'll trade some more. Just think about it.
That's 2. That's 2. Smoking and
That's 3.
3. 3 rules. That's right.
Did Bill get there?
No, she's the realtor. Oh. That's always a question. That's okay. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. That was removed today. They did it today, yeah. Oh, right at the beginning. Oh, okay. My pleasure. Well, let's try and get it fixed. I promise.
They stayed to speak, so.
Committeeman Wasserman, Deputy Mayor, you ready? All right, excellent. We're gonna get started again.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Mr. McDonald.
Where's Mr. McDonald? Alex up there?
You know what? I'm sure they're all gonna speak. So after public comment, it'll be everyone to respond. It's black. Okay. So we are going to start public comment now. When invited, please to speak loudly into the microphone, state your name and your address. You will have 3 minutes to speak. There's a timer at 2.5 minutes. A buzzer will go off and then you'll have 30 seconds to wrap up your comments. In order that everybody can be heard, we really appreciate you sticking to the 3 limit comments, and we will stick and adhere to that strictly. So don't be kind of taken off guard if we're like, okay, your 3 minutes is done. Thank you very much. And I think that's everything. Oh, please be respectful. We're all neighbors. We all live in this town. We're all working together to just keep Millburn thriving. And with that, who would like to speak?
Good evening, Oyin Owolabi, 46 Maple Street.
Good evening.
Thank you for responding, Maggie. I would like to know what's, you have something to say?
You continue.
Okay. I would like to know what's going on. This is the same rhetoric from meeting to meeting. The last time I checked, we're still in a democracy. We're still, the public has the right to be heard. The way the meeting is structured right now, the public is allowed to speak only once. I would like to know why is that. I have said this before, and I'm saying it again. You are not allowing healthy discussion with the residents. I'm starting to think that you enjoy this chaos. You want people to sit through a 3-hour meeting before they make any comment. Are you trying to wear out the public? You are approving things before you get the buy-in from the public. I heard when this young man wanted to speak, he didn't get to do that. I would like to know if you can move your public comment a little bit earlier so people who have young kids, because you are taking Zoom away. So if you take the Zoom away, your residents are not able to participate. People who have young children, if they come here, they don't want to sit through a 3-4 hour meeting. So I think you should be able to do that, look into doing that for your residents. Tara, people are only allowed to speak to you 2 hours a week. And that's even if you allow them to speak to you. You are the mayor of this town. And you are never available to the residents. How do you govern when you're not seen? You weren't at the Memorial Day parade? Because I was there and I didn't see you. You weren't at the Stop Asian Hate rally? I was there, I didn't see you. You weren't at the Stand Against Anti-Semitism parade. Where are you? So another situation that I would like to talk about is when the judge suggested that you guys mediate, but you guys decided to fight. Whose money are you using to complete this fight? So much money is going in and out, and you're pushing through projects without following the statutory budgeting process. This is there's so much to talk about tonight that I may not even get to say everything because of my 3 minutes time point. And then it's the Rose Garden. This is a slap in the faces of the members of the Short Hills Garden Club who have designed, planted, and maintained the garden since 1981. To educate the public, the planning for the garden began around 1980 during a drought that limited water use. People associated with the garden include Mr. and Mrs. John Taylor, just to educate the public. The Rose Garden is part of our history in Millburn. It's in the Smithsonian Institution and Archives of American Gardens, and it should not be tampered with at all. The fact that you all would even consider destroying this jewel within the community is a disgrace. I have a lot more to say, and I'll be back to do that. Thank you.
So there's a few more things I'd like to talk about public comment for everyone that's new. Public comment is not a dialogue, and we will not be responding. The way the process works is at the end of public comment, after everyone has had their chance to speak, we close public comment, and then the committee members and the professionals address any comments or questions that were asked during public comment. And everybody has one time to speak at 3 minutes, and you're not allowed to share your time with anybody else. Thank you. Excuse me, and please do not, this isn't a back and forth, and please do not yell out from the seats. Thank you.
My name is Rajesh Sharma and I stay in 17 Minisink Road, Short Hills. So what she said is correct, like if you give public to speak like in the starting, maybe you can change your mind at the last moment. Otherwise it's useless, That's my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. And today is the first time I came here. And my main concern is 3 things. First is like, have you ever tried, hire a professional who can hire the crossing guard instead of relying on police department on someone who is not professional in hiring? That is the first thing. If you hire someone like that, you will succeed, I have seen it in multiple companies I have worked, and I have seen this working very nice, Outsourcing is not the solution. People say, outsource it, this is not my headache. That's what we feel. But if you feel that kids are not kids, we want to make sure that kids are protected well. So we need to also make sure that we hire someone who is hiring all these things, and also existing crossing guards, why don't we ask them what is the better way? Why people are not joining? Why more people are not coming? Ask them. They will suggest you the best solution instead of imposing it. The second thing I want to talk about is audience on bamboo and other invasive. Wisteria is one of the plant, and which is when I moved to 17 Minisink Road, I spent $2,000-3,000 cleaning the wisteria plant. And not only they are invasive, they make other plants like dogwoods and other things dead. Within 2-3 years, they will be completely dead. Every week, instead of playing with my kids, I am cleaning wisteria. Every week, 2 hours. If you come to my house, 17 Minisink Road, you are always welcome to come, and you can see how. Even my neighbor, I complained to him, please cut it. No, he likes his wisteria, he likes his plants to be dead, what can I do? But I need to clean it. The third thing is alcohol and cannabis. So these are the only 2 words here written. I don't want someone to drink alcohol in the street and then throw the bottle in my yard. And every morning I'm cleaning those bottles and throwing in the garbage. And that is what you go to Short Hills, even my street is one of the prestigious street, and you'll see beer bottle tossed up into the street. In front of my house, if you'll go, you'll see 5 to 6 bottles. All the contractors, they drink, they do construction, and they throw their beer bottle. They don't collect it. So make sure you make sure people doesn't drink and throw. Thank you.
You're welcome, and you still have 30 seconds.
Oh, I have. Okay. So these are the 3 main issues, and also I want to say that if we can do something where you are all the citizens, if you can make some rule where maybe you have survey or something city can do where you ask for survey for any agenda, all these things. Why don't you ask for survey and declare the result and your opinion? That will make it more transparent. Every company does it, and why don't we cannot do Survey Monkey or something where all this audience, let's have a survey. You can get our information, my name, everyone information, and you can publish. Then in that way we can say that you are with public or you are against public.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Come back.
Welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Sean Perry, 28 Rosedale. First, how much are you spending on the crossing guards? I heard something like over $100,000. I guess I can't ask you the question. I'm trying to read your faces. But if it is that, that's 10 jobs, I think you could entice $10,000 to a high school student to do that. And then money would kind of stay in our community. It's not a hard technical job to be a crossing guard. I was doing it in middle school. Second, please don't change the rose garden. It's beautiful. It's why we moved to Millburn. They're not gonna improve on it. You can't improve on it. It's one of the things in this town that's a slam dunk. So it's just a waste of money, in my opinion. It's a very inviting rose garden as is. It's not like Taylor Park is a secret. It's usually a full park, so please just don't change it. And I know you said you're gonna include it. Also, that tree is beautiful. Don't cut that tree down, please. You can't replace a tree like that. Third, marijuana is not alcohol. Like, try not to lump them together. It's the same thing. You can't really regulate it the same way. They have different effects on people. I don't know, maybe designated areas is a good thing. That's it.
Thank you for your comments.
Good evening. My name is Jeffrey Feld, 11 Alexander, Short Hills, New Jersey. This morning, I filed a complaint to get an answer to your question, whether we have a constitutional, statutory, and common law right to be heard before the council takes official action. I'm surprised that I emailed it, wasn't mentioned. It also was not mentioned that the court has scheduled in the fair share housing, so I called the court today, a trial date in October.
Mr. Feld, can you address the board? I lose focus when you look the other way, please. Thank you.
Can I have time for your interruption?
Yeah, that was 2 seconds.
It really was? Also today, an opinion came out of the Appellate Division about slander per se. You might want to review it in light of what happened at the last meeting. As to the consent agenda, where we were not allowed to ask questions, why are we paying Amy Lawrence's educational fees? And can we get, as a public, some type of analysis as how much money has been appropriated, how much have you expended? The SID board with the new executive director, that's the first reform that he's made. As to Resolution 21-198, which I understand we had to have a resolution to accept like the CARE Act monies and the American Rescue Plan monies, but why did we reference Sussex County? To my knowledge, Millburn's located in Essex County. Is there a reason why we referred to Sussex in it? As to the crossing guards, what I find outrageous and unconscionable, I made an open request to look at the contract. It's not been produced to me. Gaston was giving you legal opinions, what was contained in that contract. Why didn't I have equal access to that contract? Plus, Mr. Wasserman was asking questions. If he had the contract, he would be able to answer those questions by himself. He would not have them. That's crossing guards. As to the question about public consumption, we do have a state attorney general. They do give advisory opinions. Why don't we consult them as to this new issue, as to what they want to do? As to that, I talked about the flex. As to flex parking, it's shocking that there was no discussions about the discrepancy in the bids, the $230,000. That the lowest bid, why was it so low? How was it so out of whack? The variance is too great. We are the public. We have constitutional, statutory, and common law rights. And I'm very proud of all the people that showed up tonight to stop certain things from happening, such as the noise ordinance and the rose garden. Thank you for coming here, sharing and exercising your constitutional fundamental rights.
Thank you, Mr. Feld.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity tonight. I'm Lisa Gadsden, 50 Montview Avenue, and I've been a Millburn resident since 1987. My husband and my mother grew up here as well. I'm a Short Hills Garden Club member since 1994 and a past president. I currently serve as the chairman of the Garden Industry Design Committee of the Garden Club of America, a national organization. The Short Hills Garden Club, a volunteer organization, was established by local residents in 1906 and is a proud member of the Garden Club of America. Its mission is to stimulate the knowledge and love of gardening and to restore, improve, and protect the quality of the environment. The Short Hills Garden Club has had a long and successful relationship with Millburn Township as stewards of the township's parks and public spaces for the enjoyment of residents and visitors of all ages. The Short Hills Garden Club maintains several ongoing civic projects, including the Walbert's Rose Garden, the Millburn Short Hills Community Garden on Church Street, the Core Arch Art Arboretum. Recently, the Short Hills Garden Club partnered with Millburn Township Green Team in the establishment of a pollinator garden. Past projects include planting native plants in the Deer Exclosure South Mountain Reservation, establishment of the planting of the stream bed in Old Short Hills Park, Millennium Garden at Short Hills Train Station, and many others. Short Hills Garden Club members were also instrumental in supporting the Core Arboretum and the Township Beautification League. The garden club established a Walbridge Rose Garden in Taylor Park using a donated gift from a former club member who was an original member of the Shade Tree Commission. With Township Committee approval and another garden club member also on the Shade Tree Commission conceived and accomplished the beautification of Melbourne Avenue entrance to Taylor Park with the gazebo and 4-quadrant rose garden gifted to the township. Since that time, the club has maintained and enhanced the rose beds along with perimeter plantings, including installation of the sprinkler system. The club's ongoing commitment includes pruning, weeding, replacing disease dead planting, general cleanup of the garden and surrounding area. The Short Hills Garden Club completed documentation of the Walbridge Rose Garden for the Smithsonian Institution Archives of American Gardens. The Short Hills Garden Club has initiated research to find the original landscape plants for Taylor Park. The Short Hills Garden Club will continue to support Millburn Township parks and open spaces well into the future for the benefit and enjoyment of all its residents and visitors. The Short Hills Garden is in the process of planning to donate new shade trees to Taylor Park this coming fall to commemorate the anniversary and the birth of Frederick Law Olmsted, regarded as the father of American landscape architecture. We have already collaborated with the Township Forester on the landscape plan. Our hope is that we will be able to proceed with the project in spring of '22. Our access to public parks and nature has never been more valued by Americans than it is today. The Short Hills Garden Club would very much like to collaborate with the landscape architect selected for designing this section of Taylor Park with the Walbridge Rose Garden. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Van Tassel. I live at 54 Hillside Avenue in Short Hills, and I'm also a Short Hills Garden Club member since 2001 and a past president. I currently serve on the Garden Club of America's Zone 4 Judging Program as their rep, and I'm a past board member and president of the Cora Hartshorn Arboretum. And I was active with them during the capital campaign for the restoration and renovation of Stonehouse and the additional grounds. And during that time period, we worked very closely with the township. My husband and I moved to Millburn with our 3 young children in 1993. We were drawn to this community by its excellent school system and its beautiful suburban presence. Our 3 children attended and graduated from Millburn Public School System. Moving here from the Midwest, it was imperative that proximity to a major city not hinder our family from engaging with open green space. We were excited to find ourselves on a then anticipated direct line to New York City in a community that had a park with a lake, playground, trails, and a rose garden, smaller but reminiscent of one we had left in the Midwest. Millburn Township's proposed plans for improvements to Taylor Park demonstrate your recognition of the importance this open space has in drawing families into Millburn Short Hills and in creating a sense of community among our residents. Throughout history, rose gardens have been a focal point for municipal parks. Theodore Worth, who actually designed the first municipal rose garden in Elizabeth Park, Hartford, Connecticut, said he originally designed the garden because roses bring joy to the public. I can attest to this truth from my years of volunteering at the Walbridge Rose Garden, when communities members would walk through and thank us for the work we were doing in caring for this place of beauty. Residents would show up on the days we volunteered to take home a single bloom or a handful of roses just pruned. We received compliments from men and women, young and old. We've found that maintaining a garden is no easy task. It requires energy and resources, both monetary and physical, and it responds to loving care and appreciation. This council acknowledges that we are at a critical juncture in the conservation of our natural resources and their impact on our quality of life. More than ever, this past year and a half has demonstrated that people need and desire places for calm retreat and opportunities to be surrounded by beauty. This is evidenced in your vision to attract residents to the center of town to talk and walk and bike together, to share meals in good restaurants, to shop local, and as you've described it, create a walk-to-work lifestyle that can thrive. Our township can increase our pedestrian engagement with the business community through new uses of available land, walking and bike paths that look greenwards, yet preserve areas of historical significance like the Rose Gardens. Municipal parks meet a myriad of needs. Historically, they are home to the first rose gardens in our country's history, and they exist throughout the United States, from the White House all the way to the East Coast. They provide recreational space along with natural areas of beauty and serenity. And the Walbridge Garden also acts like a sponge for excess water, is a pollinizer for birds and insects, and provides shade to visitors and even protection from street side pollution. I thank you for your time, and I hope that your plans for the future will continue to include the Walbridge Rose Garden as it stands today. Thank you.
I'm Shannon Perry. I live at 28 Rosedale, and I also really love the Rose Garden as it is, and I've also seen that it's possible that the large tree could be destroyed to create something else. Okay, good. Save the tree too. But I just have some questions for the committee, like why would the police be able to have resources to enforce any public consumption policy, but not be available to hire personnel or themselves be able to help protect our children to get safely to and from school? And also, what is our budget or plan to advertise or show clearly if we are going to ban public consumption so that people know that it's not a space to be publicly consuming any substance, so that people are not surprised when they are in Millburn and they are getting confronted by the police. We don't want somebody saying, please check out this person, I think that they might be smoking pot, so then police will come and confront them. My idea would maybe that would be better spent on paying crossing guards more to like attract more crossing guards. And those are my main questions, and I hope that we discuss them later. Thanks.
Thank you for your comment. Should we go to the phone or the Zoom? Mr. Cosgrove?
Yes, are you able to hear me?
We can hear you well.
Okay, thank you very much. Dave Cosgrove, 99 Oakview. I'd like to start out with just saying the audio tonight, you basically couldn't hear what any of you said for the entire meeting. And particularly, and not to single anybody out, Mr. Falcone gave a report, presumably of some sort on the fair share litigation. I was very interested in that. You could not hear a word he said, and it's not something he's doing. There's something wrong with your system. I also would like to join in some of the comments made earlier that I'm very troubled and disturbed by the fact that we were not able to comment on resolutions before you voted on them. In particular, the crossing guard one. What you're really saying to the residents, including myself, is that you're going to vote on something and you don't care what I said, but I can say something after the fact, and it really doesn't speak well. In my humble opinion. I had a comment on, or a question on on Alex's comment about the planning board and the Woodland project. That project or that vote took place about a month ago, and he was hard to hear, but I just wanted to find out, was he saying that the town still doesn't know whether the plans that were approved a month ago by the planning board do not have a curb cut in them? So that's a question. On ordinances, on 21-199, I'd like an explanation what that is about. I'd like to see the contract as well. That's unavailable, the contract that's related to 21-199. And then on 213 through 214, which were the liquor license transfers, it would be nice to know what businesses those are really associated with. When you put those descriptions in the minutes, sorry, not in the minutes, in the agenda, without further information, it makes it very hard for a resident to look at it and have any idea what it's really about, hence comment intelligently about those. On the last but not least, the concept of someone walking down Main Street smoking pot is not something I want to see. And I disagree with the comments that it's over-regulation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cosgrove.
Good evening, Dominique Urso, 514 Melbourne Avenue. What is the proposed procedure and protocol for road closures? As 2 weeks ago, Short Hills Avenue and Millburn Avenue were closed for over a week after the hours of 7 p.m., in addition to the entrance to Lot 14, which are utilized by many merchants like myself, property owners, and residents. That was completely closed. I do understand that there is construction that needs to be done, but I also think notifying the public and those businesses and residents and giving direction is ideal, or would have been great. That didn't happen. You were endangering force to enter and exit at the driveway near the old Saxford Avenue building. That's not meant to go in and out that way, but that's what you're supposed to do. As a property owner, why weren't we notified or warranted the proper traffic policing for this temporary? As well, the importance of keeping the Zoom, even the SID board, the planning board, the Board of Ed are still going to utilize Zoom. I do not understand why just the Township Committee wants to get away with it. I understand you are saying that maybe some of the equipment was a little finicky tonight because you're trying to transfer it over just to the YouTube Live. I don't see why we can't have both. We're a very affluent town. How much could it really cost you to have a Zoom subscription? Not a lot. I have one myself. Please keep into mind, unfortunately, a lot of people are business owners that don't maybe always work in 9 to 5. For instance, we own a restaurant. I'm on Zoom because I'm working. That's not fair that I have a large stake in this town and I can't make it to town hall because I'm busy helping my customers. So please keep the Zoom, because as well, not only me, a business owner, many people, again, have small children that they can't leave the house. It's really no reason. Every other committee in this town keeps the Zoom, keep the Zoom. It's not costing you anything, and just get better equipment in your room. It's really ridiculous that you do that to people that would like to participate when they can't be there in person. Where is the local channel broadcasting of the meetings? Part of your problem is that you're not utilizing what residents and property owners are used to. And it's shameful that there needs to be a private videographer present. I really hope you consider all this. And again, please rescind the SID. I think every resident as well. I love that you all came here tonight for the Rose Garden and everything. I'm all for it too. Keep the history of the town. Please, everyone needs to know that they want to tax you next year, which is a few months away, on your property. Please know that you guys, you need to know what's really happening, that they don't give out to the public. So please keep showing up if you don't want their property taxes raised. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Chair?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. BB Shear, 101 Oakview Terrace, Short Hills. I'm glad that the problem of a loading zone at the Woodland Silverman project has been recognized, but I'm concerned that the township administrator seems to be expressing that it's up to the township to figure out an alternative for the developer. I believe it's zoning ordinance DRZ 607.1 requires offices to have, and I'm quoting here, adequate off-street loading and maneuvering space. The Summit Medical Group offices at the Silverman project are offices. The developer has to provide adequate off-street loading and maneuvering space for them. It's not clear to me if a loading zone is required for the 62 mostly two-bedroom dwelling units at the Silverman project, but if the developer does not want to provide a loading zone on its property, there is no reason why the township should provide a loading zone for the developer on township property. The loading zone for the Silverman project should be in the garage of the project or in circular driveways in front of the entrances. The developer should not be allowed to build on virtually this entire small lot and then push all the delivery vehicles, the medical transport vehicles, the move-in, move-out vehicles onto the streets of Glenwood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening. Perry Urso, 514 Millburn Avenue in Short Hills. So my first comment tonight goes to Ms. Mayor Prupus. As you stated at the last TC meeting, that there are 2 objectors to the contested SID. Well, that's incorrect. And I will tell you, me, just like yourself in 2018, rallying merchants and property owners to dissolve the DMDA, 2 years forward, here I am doing the very same thing. And I currently have 17 property owners, not 2, throughout year 5 districts that are in the objection of the SID. Absolutely no buy-in. Committeeman Vignac, you clearly and passionately stated that the TC will not mediate, but quote, litigate to the end because you can. You failed your campaign promise. You and Committeewoman Miggins lied to your constituents by using taxpayers' money to fund and fight to defend the existence of the contested SID. Ms. Eglo has aligned herself with the rest of the TC members and now voting in favor for something she voted against in August 2020. Mr. Wasserman, you have continued to fail the districts within the contested SID. Your continued arrogance and your unworthy of any loyalty from the stakeholders. You have falsely given accurate information. Are you overseeing the newly hired executive director? Under his direction, things are being done backwards. Let me share with you an old Italian saying, you don't buy the cart before you buy the donkey. His presentation discussed vacancy rates that contradicted all prior statements. He continued to state that downtown makes up 47% of the businesses within the SID. Therefore, 53 is amongst the other 4 districts, which is subsidizing them without any recognition. So it takes me back to one of my original concerns, taxation without representation. I ask this board to please rescind the SID, which there are no legal opinions supporting its validity. Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Latina, it's hard to like pronounce your last name, but are you on? Hello? Okay, let's skip to the next.
Hello?
Hello, yes. Please state your name and address. Good evening.
Hello, do you
Oh,
hear
yes,
me?
we hear you, yes. Please state your name
Oh.
and address.
Hello, my name is Oksana Zasoeva, 44 Raleigh Place. I wanted to just add to those who support the Rose Garden, and to just state again that the garden is included in the Smithsonian Institution Archive of American Gardens. That should tell people who just don't understand the value of that is that it's a gem, and it cannot be removed or relocated as easily as a pot with the rosemary bush in it. It will take a huge effort, and most likely those rose gardens will be destroyed because roses are very hard to relocate. And it's much easier to chop the tree down than to grow the tree that takes maybe 50, 100 years. And no one who is passing by on Millburn Avenue needs to see the Taylor's Park, because Taylor's Park is there. Everyone knows about that. And I don't really understand the concept of showing off because it's already very showy, the roses that are there. And it provided the comfort and the beauty to the whole town. And just the idea that you're going to spoil your karma by doing this, it just sounds very absurd to a lot of residents of this town. And I really hope that you will reconsider. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Dave Boyko, 30 Farmstead Road in Short Hills. First, I do want to agree with the initial comments that were from virtual participants today that the audio really was a problem and difficult to hear. I also think it was a sterling suggestion that public comment opportunities be moved to earlier in the meeting rather than at the end. I recognize that may be disruptive, but it might give people a chance to feel that their voices are more heard. Beyond that, I'd like to note, I've had no problems contacting Township Committee members to express an opinion, gain an audience with them, or make my voice heard. I don't always agree with everything that's being done, but I salute the members of the Township Committee who are hardworking and trying to do this the best for this town, which seems to have more than its fair share of people who would rather complain than actually do. So keep up the good work, whether or not all of us agree with it, but that's what government is all about. Thank you.
Hello, this is Jean Cosgrove, 99 Oakview Terrace. I was calling just to correct something that the business administrator had said about the parking situation by the Silverman construction site. On Woodland Road, he had said that there was just permit parking for the businesses. And that's the part near the Garden Apartments. Adjacent to it, there is public parking as well as some business permit parking. So yes, there is a parking area for Silverman Group across the street on Woodland Road. And before you do consider voting on anything about giving up our land to this project for the deliveries, I think all of you should visit the site and see how it actually is with the traffic pattern, et cetera, and how the best situation is just to park on the same side as the Garden Apartments, as people do now when they move in and out of the Garden Apartments. And also keep in mind that during the construction, this is another point, when the cranes are up on Chatham Road to construct this building, there will be real sight vision issues for anyone trying to pull from Woodland Road out onto Chatham Road. And I think this really does need to be taken into consideration in whatever these plans are that are supposedly going to be made between the contractor and the township people, because it will be extremely dangerous, like I said, at that intersection. And it's not unlikely that people will be T-boned while driving their cars by another car or even a school bus. Thank you.
Please unmute yourself. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, this is Shreyas Sirsi from 50 Greenwood Drive. I have a couple of concerns. The first one, I appreciate the council basically giving us to have a public comment, but it's very unfortunate that this is at the very end when most people don't really have the time to speak, or after the voting has already been completed, which means that our opinion is either not heard or is irrelevant. Second, I wanted to agree with my fellow townsfolk basically talking about the Rose Garden. It's mentioned in the Smithsonian. It's something that really shouldn't be moved because the second you move it, you're going to lose 60 to 80% of your roses, maybe even more. So instead of safeguarding gems of the community, we're trying to destroy this in the name of development, which to me is rather backwards. And the third thing I wanted to comment and actually try to understand a little bit more about is the special improvement district that the tax that we're going to be charged. I'm trying to understand why residents of this town would cross-subsidize a business when our taxes are already extremely high. Would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Thank you very much. Okay, should we go back to the room? All right, we are going to go back to the room. If there's any comments left in the room, anyone would like to make a comment?
Mask. Hi, Regina True at 385 Hartshorn Drive. I want to start out by saying that I thank you for your service. However, I'm going to say it pains me a little bit. I haven't been to a meeting in a while. I see everyone rushing through their comments. I wonder if you'd consider extending the time to 5 minutes. Additionally, this microphone is facing you, which means everyone at home who's watching is looking at our backs. And it might be, and everyone in the audience is looking at our backs. Could you consider putting this microphone on one of the sides and having your camera at the other side so that people can speak to the public in addition to the Township Committee? I'm not going to reiterate any of the wonderful comments that have been said tonight about the Rose Garden or the crossing guards, but I do want to focus on a bigger issue, and for me that is public participation. Thomas Jefferson, of course the author of the US Constitution, said, "I know no safe depository of the ultimate powers of society but the people themselves." Truly effective public participation, however, has its own specific rules for success. Some of these rules include public participation is based on the belief that those who are affected by a decision have a right to be involved in the decision-making process. This is the essence of democracy. Public participation includes the promise that the public's contributions will affect the decision. And also, public participation seeks and facilitates the involvement of those potentially affected by or interested in a decision. To this end, I beg you to move the public comments ahead of any votes that you make that affect our township. It simply makes no sense. You're not fulfilling your duty to those you serve if you aren't hearing people's comments in the same meeting when you are voting. And that to me reflects that perhaps you're traumatized by some of the comments you've experienced this year, and you don't deserve them. You deserve our thanks for your time. You deserve to hear people, but you don't deserve some of the harsher comments. But anyway, to this end, I'm very worried that perhaps your reaction to this trauma is to cut out the public and try to move comments at the end when they don't really matter or don't really have an impact on your final vote. And lastly, I'm going to also ask that you continue Zoom meetings. There are people who are immunosuppressed. There's the Delta variant, dare I say that, and there are women and fathers and parents and families of all sorts that will not have access to come to these meetings, and they deserve to be heard. This beeping is very disruptive. And again, I ask you to please think about the public who you serve and who I know your hearts are in the right place to do this. And I hope you'll consider all the comments you've heard tonight.
Have a few more comments on the phone. For everybody, we're going to go down the list.
Nancy Stone, 10. Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. Nancy Stone, 10 Fielding Road. I want to comment on the Rose Garden. I can't even believe this is on the agenda, but when I see women that have stepped up tonight to speak and some of the men that stepped up to defend that sacred space, it's appalling that we even have to have a conversation about that beautiful, beautiful space. I want to echo Regina's comment that a 5-minute time limit would be a little bit more helpful for those that have taken the time that given their time, even though they're not elected officials, they are residents and should be respected accordingly and not dismissed with these paltry 3 minutes at the end of very important resolutions that were on the table. Specifically one, the crossing guards. I cannot believe that this vote was taken up. Shame on all of you that voted in favor of this contract. I don't know if that was Alex or Tara who started that, but it's appalling that these children have to be not only introduced to the new school year with new crossing guards, but with, you know, all this newness of possibly going back to school and also being shut down again with this new deviant, which brings me to my other point, the Zoom meetings. The deviant is real, it's coming. I was just in California on vacation and they're getting ready for it. So maybe we're late to the game, but all I can tell you is that people are concerned. Mask wearing was still in play, and you are doing a disservice to all the people, not just the people who voted for you, because you know that I certainly did not. And there's 111 days, hopefully until you're gone, God willing, but 111 days for the town to wake up and understand the dictatorship that you have, that you did not keep one campaign promise about being transparent, being a good business leader, being a good steward of our money, and everything that you campaigned and also fought against previous town council members that you were going to improve TP. So the bottom line is move the public comments earlier before you take official action. I want to compliment the two people that voted against the crossing guard contract. Those are the real neighbors. Those are the people that really, really believe and want the integrity of our town to just move forward, but also maintain the reason why people came in the first place. You should take a hard look at your voting records. It's documented, and that's the reason why I'm speaking tonight.
Looks like, all right, I'm closing down the phone. We are going to end the comments in the room. There's no other hands raised there. Which one? Try this again. Right, she's not, hello? Hello? Can keep moving so that, oh, Ms. Pasternak's on the phone with her hand up. Ms. Pasternak? Hello? Hello? Okay. Now I'm closing down comment. We're going to go to the room. Is there anybody else that would like to make a public comment in the room? There's only one public comment per meeting.
Good evening, Sarah Sherman, 42 Greenwood Drive. I want to echo what Mr. Boyko said on the phone. And I won't always agree with you, but I really think you work very hard at what you're doing. I always feel I can contact anyone here. And I seem to have a different memory on the crossing guard issue because I believe that was April. I have it in my notes. And Mr. McDonald discussed it at some length there. So there has been some opportunity to talk about this. I know I spoke with Ms. Higgins, I believe. And I have a slightly different take on this, and I did write to Township on this issue. I think I had a rather nostalgic view, as many do, about the role of the crossing guard. And we all want to think of some, genial grandparent who shepherds children across the street, and that's a lovely idea, and we've had many of those people here in town. However, I know for the last couple of years, through the South Mountain Civic Association, I've gotten requests. Do you know anyone who wants to be a crossing guard? Mayor Lieberberg was contacting me also. It's difficult to fill 39 jobs in this community of that nature. And I think that's a reality. So as much as we'd like to be nostalgic about the crossing guards, maybe we've moved to another level. Just as substitute teachers jobs are filled through agencies now, maybe people disagree with that. But I think it's worth looking at for a year to see how this works with crossing guards. If it doesn't work, we'll do something else. But meetings have been very long recently. I'm not here, I'm on Zoom, and I think going to a 5-minute public comment will keep us here till midnight or 1 in the morning. That might not be welcome. But thank you for your service. Thank you for the job that you do.
Anyone else would like to make a public comment?
Good evening. I'm Sandy Murphy from 28 Claremont Drive. I am a Garden Club member, but I'm here to speak to you as a longtime Short Hills resident. And I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I just want to let you know that I think it's so critically important that we save these serene public spaces. I know that in the last year and a half in particular, that spaces like the Rose Garden were really a very important place for people to go and decompress and let go of their stresses in life. As we continue to increase the residential and business density of this town, it's going to be even more important for us to maintain spaces like that. And as people have said to you before, you can't just easily pick up and relocate a rose garden. It is something that takes quite a labor of love to maintain. It takes very specific knowledge that we consult on. We have somebody that we've contracted with to help us. And it's taken many, many years for it to get to this space. And, as I said, it is a very meaningful place to so many people in this town. And I just urge you to please bear that in mind. I would also, on a separate note, like to throw my 2 cents in that I really do think that it's very important for people to have the opportunity for public comment before you vote on things. I understand that things can get very volatile in this town and that people can say things that they shouldn't. It's very easy to complain. It's not easy to be part of the solution. It's not easy to serve. So I thank you. I think that when people realize that they are being listened to and their voices are being heard and taken into account, that they will, express their appreciation as they should. And thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good evening. My name is Małgorzata Gapinska, and I'm a resident at 11 Meeker Place in Millburn. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I would like to echo the comments about public comments. I think it's important that the committee has the input from the public about the decisions being made. I think the contract about the crossing guards, it could use more help and more due diligence. I think we've heard valid concerns today. I don't know that we really heard what was done to address the pain points. I think Committeewoman Miggins mentioned that she has sent some questions and she has not received answers. So I think that the committee should be receiving answers when asking those questions. I appreciate Committeeman Wasserman's question about the contract end date and what are the conditions of that. I think the committee should have the contract, and be able to make a decision based on the actual contract. So I'm not sure what were the details of that, but maybe public can help here asking questions and getting answers. I also am in favor of continuing the Zoom. We hope we can resolve the technical difficulties. I work in IT, so I totally understand that. But with fall coming, we are going back to work 100% of the time in the city, and it will be hard to get here. I know in the past I tried to attend the meetings. It's hard. It's hard to be here at this time. I have to go to the city tomorrow. It's a challenge, to be here in person. Would love to hear the meetings over the Zoom. And on the topic of commuting, before the pandemic, I used to walk to the train station every day. And coming off the train after a whole day, there were two moments. One was just getting off the train and smelling the reservation. You know you're home. Second moment, when you walk into Taylor Park, you feel it. You come off the sidewalk, you take a deep breath, and you know it. It's different. The air is fresh, the air is cooler. It's unbelievable. So I think we know that Rose Garden is a jewel in town. There's something else I have learned in the past few days. We have another jewel, the Short Hills Garden Club. I mean, it's amazing. It takes so much effort to get anyone to volunteer for anything. And I'm sure you all know it. You're here volunteering your time. But oh my God, it's unbelievable the amount of work that the garden club is able to get from the efforts of town, the money to make the town beautiful. Listen to them and take advantage of them. Get their buy-in in any solution that you're considering. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to make a comment?
Evening, Carrie Heller, 343 Millburn Avenue. Regarding flex, I do support removing it during the day. Regard to Main Street, the restaurants have made a big commitment to buying a lot of furniture and things, and I know we all know that. So for as long as able to keep the street closed, we should do so. Alex, I believe the resolution that was passed to have Main Street closed at the beginning of the summer, I believe within there it gives you the powers without even going back to the TC, and I don't think that you would necessarily do so, but you have the ability to open and close the street as needed. With that, I think letting the property owners know, as well as the retailers, even explore Millburn. We don't find out a lot of things that are going on with regard to the downtown and the streets. So with regard to flex, if it's going to be, when it's going to be removed, getting a schedule. There's 5 or 6 of us, maybe 7 of us that own that stretch of Melbourne Avenue. I think everybody's impacted, but we certainly would like to know from the town. Explore Millburn doesn't necessarily let us know. Regarding the flex removal, Mayor, Alex, Diane, others, we've talked about a lot of trees have been removed from Melbourne Avenue over the years by many of the retailers. Some of them have cut their own trees down. It blocked their stores. There are now new types of trees. They're narrow trees, tall trees, short trees, genetically modified trees. There are at least 10 locations that trees, including in front of my building, that could be put back again. Even if we don't put them back right now, I think we can choose the locations. Cutting out the concrete and creating the tree wells is an easy thing to do, and I don't think the contractor would perhaps even charge us additional money, or if it would be, it's a very, very small cost to create 4x4 openings. Separate and on that subject, as long as we're talking about the environment and climate change and water and flooding, the amount of shade, temperature drop, we're on the south side of the street, the north side, runoff of water, pollinators, just overall temperature are all things that should be done. If you don't want to do it now, I think it'll cost us more money to do it later, but I think there's an opportunity to do it now to let Tom Doty, the forester, explore, Alex, anybody else who'd want to be involved, property owners, as to where we would want, trees or to not have trees and or other things, but we'd like to participate in that process. Thank you.
The comment is now closed. And there are a number of comments that I would like to respond to. I want to start start by saying that there was a lot of misinformation in the past couple days and weeks floating around on Facebook, and some of them that I really want to respond to is there. And I sat on the subcommittee for the Taylor Park entranceway. We all agreed that that tree was never to be touched. And I'm highlighting this because I want people to understand that somebody hears something and says something and writes something on Facebook, and it snowballs and it snowballs and it snowballs. And then it's a complete lie. A complete lie. And I don't think anybody appreciates lies. I think we all want the truth. I think we all want transparency. And so I'm just putting a plea out to the community that before you take something or hear something that you heard from hearsay from a second source, from Facebook, from a news source such as The Patch or Tap Into, who are also spreading misinformation, just check in. And so with that also, I'm very accessible. I have office hours scheduled so that people know when they can contact me. But you can always send me an email. You can always request a meeting. You can always, I know my cell phone's floating around because I get texts from people. I'm like, oh, you have my cell phone? So I'm sure if you want to find it, you can find it. I know many of you in the audience have it. So I just want to reiterate my accessibility to all of you. The crossing guard, I want to talk about the amount of money that the town is spending on the crossing guard, because a gentleman tonight, thank you for coming to the meeting, said $100,000 that we're spending all this extra money. So I want to clarify what exactly is in that contract that we have all seen and we've all had. And I think sometimes people like to, on the committee, ask questions because they want to bring attention to a certain point or they want to clarify. That does not mean that they haven't read their packets, okay? We're all doing our jobs very well, and we are all volunteers, as are the Short Hills Garden Club. Thank you very much for coming and expressing all your views tonight. There's a about a $5,000 difference rounded of the contract. Yes. An additional $5,000 that the township will be spending with 2 additional posts for crossing guards. So there's no money, there's not $250,000 that we're now taxing the residents to put to the crossing guards. That is misinformation that's out there. So again, there's a $5,000 difference on the crossing guard contract. Excuse me, but this is my time to speak up here, and please listen as I so patiently and caringly and attentively listen to all of you. I very proudly attended and spoke at the Stop Asian Hate vigil with Committeewoman Miggins. We did? Yes, we did. And I love this community so much. And I'm proud to show up for all of our groups and boards, and when crises happen, I'm there. I can't attend everything, as no one can. I have outside obligations and families, and 4th of July was amazing. And, you know, Memorial Day, I was with family from out of town. Not that I feel like I need to address every time that someone comes up and makes accusations, but that one hit home about me not being at the Stop Asian Hate rally. In fact, I invited our entire Asian community to come and to speak to us. And I'm just, you know, I love this community, so I'm going to keep responding to all of the comments. My office hours, the crossing guards, the tree never being cut down. Amy Lawrence, because her name was addressed, I just want to say Amy Lawrence sits on she's an alternate to the zoning board. She was on our vision plan, and she was on the DPW subcommittee, or the area of need of study. And she has a lot of expertise. She's an amazing woman, and the town sometimes sends people to different planning conferences or Bike Walk New Jersey so that we can support our volunteers and that they can come back after with the knowledge they have gained and bring it back to us. Usually the League of Municipality hosts a conference that we all attend. We go to sessions, we learn, and then we come back to our town to implement the knowledge and the learning. So Amy Lawrence, if you are listening, thank you for your tremendous service to our town. Thank you for the garden club, for the trees that you are donating to the town. we had, Juliet, we had talked, you had presented to us this amazing plan. I thought that they were happening, I thought that the planting was happening a little bit sooner than next year, but whenever it happens, thank you very much for the donations to the trees that are coming into Taylor Park. I want to talk about the process that we go through at our township committee meetings in terms of and how public comment got moved. I mean, if you've been paying attention, you will see we had consent agenda items. We didn't have public comment. I mean, this has been quite a year for the township committee, and none of these issues that we voted on tonight was the first time that we've had opportunity for people to comment. So let me explain the process to some of you if you're new or you don't understand. But so usually we have committee meetings twice a month. So usually we have committee meetings twice a month, and something will be brought up under new business. Then we will discuss it under old business. Then maybe we will decide to take it a little bit further after that, and then maybe we will have a first reading and then a second reading. Like, that's the quickest it will ever happen. The crossing guard contract started with Mayor Lieberberg, which was we went out to bid, we approved it. This is not a new conversation, and there has been ample time for the community to weigh in. The amount of emails that I have received in the past 2 days, it's like nobody knew this conversation was happening. So what that indicates to me is that we have a deficiency on how we are relaying some of our information out to the public, which we are going to address, which I've already, please do not clap. We need to follow procedure. Okay. So as I had discussed with our business administrator, a working session, which has already been brought up, which is a great idea, and which we will talk about how we are going to relay the facts out of town hall to our community so the snowballing can stop. And then people don't have to get so worked up, and anxieties don't have to get so high in a state where we're already living with such high anxieties, right? Just coming through the pandemic, the new variant, which leads me to another misinformation. All boards and commissions will be going fully in person in September. They all know, they got memos back in June. It's not just the TC. This is in the entire township will be meeting in person come September. Okay? The loading zone, Mr. McDonald, with Ms. Shear, can you please respond to that specific comment? Because I think that we just need to get the facts out there so everyone can hear them and tell us what the TC's responsibility is in regards to the loading zone at Woodland.
Yeah, and I think that the point there is that nothing has been put before the township committee at this time. A resolution has not been memorialized at the planning board of that application. However, should that come before the township committee, a request to provide a loading zone within the public right of way, it would be the township committee's, decision whether or not to allow for that loading zone within the public right of way, pass an ordinance to establish a parking, loading, unloading zone within an area where it's currently prohibited or currently not allowed, or in an area where it is currently allowed but designated as a loading or unloading zone.
I have a few more notes to respond to. Nobody's talking about taxing the residents for the SID or bid in 2022. That will be a assessment on the commercial property owners. And the last thing that I would like to say is that can you please address or ask the road closures that were happening on Upper Melbourne Avenue? What were those, and how do we, again, communicate that better to the people who are affected and involved?
So the road work that was ongoing on Short Hills Avenue was New Jersey American Water replacing a main from the border of Springfield up Short Hills Avenue past St. Rose of Lima. The township provides notifications via Swift 911 as well as the township website to individuals that want to receive those notifications to understand what roads may or may not be closed in and around the township. You know, there are also notifications that are supposed to happen from the contractor as well when they're in the area of a particular property or business area or residential area. For instance, PSE&G paving in and around the Wyoming and South Mountain sections should have been notifying residents of their milling and paving or their operation or whatever work they were being done. But I encourage all residents to sign up for Swift 911, sign up for Notify Me, sign up for Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, the website, all these things and all these modes of communication that we have and where we put out, in particular, road closures as well.
Thank you. And one other thing, we are all volunteers. So if you're sending us an email, like the day, but we might not even read it. We might not even see it. We all have lives. So I want to reiterate that we are all accessible and that you can contact us at any time. Happy to meet. Okay. I also just want to say I'm so honored and privileged to serve as your mayor. So thank you for that. Do any of my other committee members have anything that they would like to respond or any comments before we adjourn tonight?
I have comment, Mayor.
I'd actually just like to say something. You know, the crossing guard issue was something that, you know, I wasn't originally involved with in terms of, you know, in terms of that. But I do take it from a safety point of view. You know, keep in mind, I mean, I'm a resident of about 30 years in the town. And one of the things that I think that I know is that there is a lot of aggressive driving. It's an issue that we deal with on this board all the time. And, you know, and I don't know if we keep this in our forefront, but I know we had 2 fatalities in the last couple of years when people were hit by cars. And it's something that I think about. So I take it very, very seriously and very concerned if we're down 10, you know, I don't know, 8 guards, 10 guards, 9 guards, whatever it is, and there's a possibility, there's another way forward. I just think that, you know, we should try it. And as Mr. McDonald pointed out, if it doesn't work out, you know, then then potentially we can do something else. But I think we have to try new things when we have to. And just to respond to somebody else, I did have the contract, and I worked on the contract, and I've been in conferences with Mr. McDonald about the contract because I wanted to make sure the current guards are protected, and so I was involved with that. But when our professionals and when the volunteers were speaking about it, I wanted to highlight that. I wanted to make sure that people heard it from the people that are involved with it. So I did have the contract. There's no issue with that, but I just wanted to highlight that. I wanted them to highlight it. I wanted Mr. McDonald to highlight it. So that's my response. I'm also always available, you know, on email. Sometimes it takes a day or two to get back to you. And I also want to thank the Garden Club, you know, for all the wonderful work they do. Committeewoman Eglo and I, you know, are going to work with them. We're going to find a way forward where those stakeholders are okay with, you know, with going forward. I think there's some good work that we can do together. And I just want to thank you for all of your service. All the volunteers in our town are wonderful, and that's what I want to say.
And one other thing, when our boards and our commissions and our volunteer groups are working and they come to us with recommendations, we have to give them a chance with their recommendations. We have to listen to them and say maybe they, you know, they worked hours into it, just like PSAB did with the crossing guards. And one last thing about the crossing guards that I just want to say is that kids are going to go back to school, and the crossing guards have the opportunity to keep their jobs with the same hours and the same pay. So they're not going to be seeing new faces, except for the 9 or now 10 vacancies that they're going to hire new crossing guards for. So it just goes back to all the misinformation that is being just kind of spread and snowballing through our community, and I really feel that needs to end.
Well, first of all, I've been doing a little research on these gardens. Thank you very much, ladies. And so Olmsted, who designed Central Park, is one of the
homesteads that designed our gardens. So I was told, but I'm also told there's information, I guess, up in Brookline, Mass, that might have some information on our park. So I think it would be great if we could maybe get that. I also, from my wonderful landscaper, Andrew Kbecker, told me that you can only move roses if you are going to ever move roses. There's a month-long time when you can do it, or else you will kill them. They're very difficult to move. And so I am not in favor of moving any roses, quite frankly, and I'll stand up here and tell everybody that. I think that the rose garden, and at the same time, I do believe that and I asked Andy to go look for me too. He and I went down and Richard and I FaceTimed on it. There's some overgrown bushes in there that need to get out. There should be a way that there's split rail fencing that doesn't look appropriate. I'd love to see that opened up a little bit so that we can see our beautiful roses. They're beautiful. Those and I know how difficult it is to take care of them. I have my own roses in my own home. So I am not ever in favor of moving those roses at all. I just want to go on record so that everybody knows that I'm not. I think we should do our research at the library. And I'm told that it's not even online, that somebody's going to have to call up and get the information. So I think that's important we do that. And I also want to recognize that the backbone of everyone's communities, all of our communities, are our volunteers. And those women not only take care of the Rose Garden. I was the president of the Township Beautification League, which is strictly volunteer. And all these beautiful plants and pots that you see all throughout town is all the TBL. And many of the members of the Township Beautification League then go join the Short Hills Garden Club. These women also take care of the community gardens, and that's no easy feat. It's hot, it's dry, and they're in there doing all that hard work. They take care of the boxes at the Short Hills train station, because every now and then I'll be walking by as I'm talking on the phone, deadheading the coleus for Gail. She sees me, she's like, what are you doing? But I love it. So I think it's important that we maintain some of our traditions, our rich traditions that we have. And as I was saying earlier, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Let's see if we can lead that and then look at other ways to, even the talk is amphitheater, I guess, is what everyone's talking about.
And there is no talk of amphitheater.
Somebody
Another
said
misinformation.
Right, but I found a dead space where it could go near the ball field. I'm like, well, let's put it there. I mean, I was down there just working because I think our volunteers are the backbone of our community, and they're very important to us. And I think so many times that's why they even stay. So let's keep that in mind when we're talking about our rose gardens and make sure the roses stay where they are. Thank you.
Any other comments from the committee or professionals tonight?
Yes, I have, Mayor.
Oh, okay, yes, Mr. Vignaya.
Well, thank you so much for explaining, Mayor. It was well explained, and I think sometimes it's just very, very important to even repeat, if we are repeating it over and over again, for those people who have not attended the meeting in the past or coming after a long break. I was one of them too. All I can say is, if you truly want to understand if the TC is being transparent or not, attend 5 to 6 meetings back to back, and you will exactly know what we're talking about and what information is spread out there. I can say this sentence or 2-3 sentences, and people have selective listening things, and they could just pick up that 2 words and start floating around on social media. So again, coming back in that true spirit of repetition again, SID was always 2022 was not going to be paid by resident, it was going to be paid by business owners. And SID, again, if you want to see where I stand or where we stand, I have written articles on it in favor while doing the campaign. And I've repeated this several times. I don't feel that it's important to keep repeating it, but SID has been always supported by me. I've always been in favor. And another thing, when we keep talking about taxes, I like to repeat it again. In 2021, since there are so many new faces, we have not increased municipal taxes. After 2020 pandemic, all of the towns were struggling. And kudos to all the employees in the township, including our business administrator, they have managed it pretty well. And we have not increased at all 2021 taxes. Now, there is another misinformation that may be spread. Oh, because 2021 we have not raised the taxes, 2022 we'll have to compensate for that too. I'm on the finance committee with Committeeman Wasserman. I have not seen that, and I don't believe that. Again, there could be some unforeseen thing that could come up, and we may have to adjust for that. But we are all the resident and pay taxes the same way as everyone else does. So it is not in anybody's spirit to pay more taxes if it's not required. So we are working any which way to keep our tax rate to a lowest level possible by still providing the same services or even better. Thank you.
I have one last question.
Yes.
Mr. McDonald, you talked about possibly looking at shared services with the court system. Wasn't there a study that was done a few years ago about that? And do we have access to that we could look at it?
There was, and I can certainly provide that.
I would
Yes,
like that.
do.
That would be great. Because I think at that time they decided not to do it. It didn't make sense.
Correct. That was looking at Livingston.
Looking at Livingston, but it didn't make sense.
Right, and this is with also, there's some other options on the table, so we will have robust conversation around that.
I would like to say one comment, if I
Yes.
may. You know, people accuse politicians of changing their minds. Human beings change their minds. We evolve. We get educated. We learn. We hear different people's opinions. And we are all entitled to change our minds, no matter what it is about, at what level in our lives, how we raise our children. You know, it's a fluid world we live in. And if we're all going to say one thing and never, ever be expected to have to change our mind, that's so unrealistic. So we will remain open-minded. We will continue to work together. I believe this TC is working together in a beautiful manner. And it has been very difficult, as Ms. Truitt said. And the attacking has been very, very upsetting. The misinformation on Facebook, again, I will say, originating to look for crossing guards did not come from anybody up here. This came from the schools system. So it's really important
It came from the recommendations of the PTOC Safety Committee
Right.
and the PSAP, which are two of our boards.
and with the blessing of Superintendent Burton and the police department. So it didn't originate with anybody's name. And moving forward, as our meetings continue, we will continue to educate ourselves and hear everybody. And
Okay,
that's it.
Mr. Falcon is gonna speak and close us out.
Close us out.
Yes, notwithstanding the audible groan I heard when I was acknowledged by the mayor, oh Lord, the lawyer's gonna talk, I promise to be brief. Two quick things. I just wanted to amend what Alex said about the Silverman cutout. There was really nothing for you to do currently, or I called the planning board attorney to find out where that was. Not only is the resolution still in draft, they're awaiting the arrival of transcripts as to what was said at the meeting to assist in the preparation of that. And in due course, it'll come to you depending upon what the planning board does. Secondly, as to a comment about the fact that there was quite a difference between the low and second bid on the award of the flex parking contract to AJM Contractors, I want to assure everybody that one of the strongest public policies of this state is that there be a public process leading to the submission of bids, and that it is required that the contract be awarded to the lowest responsible bidder. This bidder presented a bid which was within the engineer's estimate, and the contract was awarded to a contractor who has successfully performed other like contracts for the municipality. So there really was nothing to discuss, or we're just following the law, awarding the contract to the lowest responsible bidder. That's it for me.
Okay, so we will see everybody here in person in August. And may I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion.
May I have a second?